Alrighty. Welcome everybody to the first episode of my podcast. Today's guest is Daniel Jackson. Daniel is a spirit medium and intuitive who works at the intersection of the human and the unseen. He ultimately helps people make sense of loss, purpose, and the deeper nature of consciousness. Through his work, Daniel supports people who are navigating things like grief, awakening, and the bigger questions about life and death, offering insight that's grounded, compassionate, and deeply human. Today, we're going to explore his personal journey, how he experiences spirit communication, and what his work has taught him about the nature of consciousness, death, and why we're here in the first place. Daniel, welcome to the episode, and I'm appreciative to have you on.
Thank you, Jess. I appreciate you having me on here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. And look, first of all, I'm so passionate about this, and I couldn't have had any better guests speak to a medium, this whole psychic stuff. You know, you hear it for so long. I think it's become very mainstream. There's also a lot of pseudo psychics and people who, I guess, act like these figures.
Yeah, you can tell the difference between someone who is actually real and someone who isn't. It's like there's a lot of these people out there who are channelers, okay? And I channel, okay? But the only thing when I channel is archangels come through, Jesus has come through a bunch of times, and God's come through a couple of times. But when they come through, it's just a voice that comes through, and it's not coming through me. I sit across with someone. I ask for permission to do this with them, as my guides will instruct me to do it with a particular person. And then we sit across from each other, and I hold out my hands. We clear out our minds. I hold out my hands. They grab my hands. Every time I've done it, it looks like they get shocked or electricity. And then they start speaking, and a voice comes through. Now, when that happens for me, a voice comes through. That's it. Okay, so with archangels, Jesus, and God coming through, it's just a voice. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be just a voice. But when you see somebody standing in front of you and they start waving their hands, oh, I'm channeling Bashar or something like that, or I'm channeling Metatron. Well, there is no such thing as an archangel named Metatron. That's a bunch of bullcrap. And they start doing that, and they start snapping their fingers and waving their hands. What they're doing is putting on a circus act for you. That's what they're doing because they want to get your attention. They're fake. Right. Absolutely, 100% fake.
Yes. It's interesting you mentioned Bashar because that's somebody, who I watch sometimes and take some inspiration, at least from what he's saying. Do you believe he's one of those people putting on those acts?
Yes.
Right. And how do you differentiate?
There's a couple of them out there. There's a couple of them out there who are, what's the best way to say it? They're just trying to put on a show. There are a couple of them who are just, first it was, everyone was channeling this other energy coming through called Cryon. And then after that, it was Metatron. And now it's Bashar. I mean, it's just, it's a fad every single time over and over and over again. It's just, it's becoming a circus show.
Right. And do you think that has an effect on the legitimacy of the people who actually are doing it?
Absolutely. Yeah. My wife and I actually watched a show one time on this network called Gaia. And Gaia is all about that, the UFO stuff, the mediumship, all that stuff. And as we were watching it, my guides physically touched me on my face for yes and no answers. It's just, it feels like this right here across my eyebrow or somewhere else on my face, a different kind of touch. And that's all yes. It feels like blood dripping across my face or some other part of my face. And then when I got to know, it feels like a tear running down my face. So, and in the beginning, it was one touch here and one touch there, and then a no. And now I get touched at 104 different places on my face by 104 different archangels at the same time or sporadically. But my wife and I were watching a show, these channelers, and there was 8 of them on the show. And we're watching, and as one came on, they said their thing, and I do this and this and this and this. And they started their thing, and I just turned around to my wife and said, nope, that one's not real. Next one comes on. Yep, no, this one's real. Next one comes on. This one's real. Next one comes on. Nope, this one's not real. So it's hard for me to it's hard for me, even me being a professional at this, to watch a lot of these others out there because they're scamming people. They're scamming people because people want answers. They really
Mhm.
do want answers. They really are seeking information, and there are always going to be scammers out there trying to scam everyone. Uh, Again, for a popularity contest or to make a bunch of money. And
Yes. Yeah.
I'm just completely and totally against that. But it happens.
Yeah, no, I guess that's the world we live in, unfortunately. But, for me, it's very relatable. I guess when you're on that spiritual journey and you're seeking guidance from people
Yes.
who've been there, whether it's a psychic or whether it's a guru, you see so many people out there who are doing it for money and they're exploiting vulnerable people. And it's a tough
Yes.
position to be in because it's like, who do you follow? Who do you put your trust in? And when it's trust in something so profound, it's almost very degrading because you just don't know what is best for you.
Never follow anyone who calls themselves a master of anything, because
Mm,
when they use the term master, that's a term that's being used that I'm better than you are, that I'm the best at this, that I know more than you are, and that's more of a word of more power and control, of which
mm,
spirituality is not about at all.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, look, I'd love to ask you, before you got into mediumship, or if it was when you were born, I assume it came at a certain time. I guess, were you always spiritually inclined, or was it a moment in time where it all just clicked?
I have seen spirit ever since the age of 3 years old. But at the time when I was seeing them, my whole family was seeing them. I lived in a state here in the United States called New Jersey, and we
Yeah.
lived right along this Delaware River where George Washington was. And there was a battlefield in our town, and there was a little hospital in it, and this is where the Hessians fought. This is where all these battles went on. There was trenches there and cannon there, and the hospital had a little cannonball embedded into the side of the wall. And
Mm,
because of that, our home and homes in that surrounding area were having spiritual things happening there. Ghosts were coming around, and my whole family was seeing them. And that happened throughout my life, and up until right before when I was turning 17, my parents and I, my dad, my mom and dad, myself, and one brother moved from that state down to another state, which is the first state in the United States, Delaware. From that point on, I was the only one who was continuing to see, hear, feel, smell, sometimes taste, and communicate with spirit. Um, and that just it progressed throughout my life. But I didn't know I was becoming a medium until right before I was turning 50. My wife had went away on vacation for 2 weeks, and for 2 weeks I saw everything you could ever imagine in a scary movie happening in my home.
mm, interesting. I mean, can you take the people a bit, like, visually what it was like for you?
I'd be in my bedroom and I'd see green and red mist pouring out of the walls. I'd see skulls floating around the room with red eyes and fangs. I
Mm,
saw 8-foot skeletons walking around the house. I saw something that I didn't know of until after the fact what it was. I saw a being appear in my basement of the home. I went down to get my cat. I let my cat down into the basement, and I went to go get him because it was time to go to bed. And when I did, I said, "Come on, buddy, it's time to go to bed." And he looked at me and he looked to his right. I looked to my left and I saw a wall of blackness appear in the middle of the floor. And I saw a man walk out of that wall of blackness. And he had like a wide hat on, he had a long black coat on. Um, but I couldn't see his face, but I could see his facial features. And then he walked out of that across the room and through the wall and disappeared. And the strange part for me was because that wasn't strange enough. When he was walking in a perfect stride, he had no feet, and he
mm,
just walked right through the wall. And then when I turned back, the wall of blackness just shut back up and was gone. And then my cat was looking at me like, "What the heck was that?" And
yeah.
I grabbed him and said, "Come on, buddy, let's go and let's get out of here." But yeah, there was I'd be laying in bed and I'd sit there and watch TV and I'd see this white mist in my room and then a darkness over here, and then the white mist would go across the room and like washing it away. I'd be in bed and I would see a cloud come out of the corner of the room. where I'd be laying, and each time it came out, it was either red or yellow or green or blue, and then it was red with black stripes, green with black stripes, blue with black stripes. So it just continued every single night. But when that cloud, every time the cloud came out, I felt the presence of a woman there. So I didn't know a name. I didn't get a name, so I just called her Miss Lady, and I said I'm so glad that you're here because it makes me feel better that you're here. But yeah, it was happening a lot. And then my wife came home from her vacation, from seeing her daughter, and she told me about her adventures, and then I told her about mine. And then for the first 3 days, my wife was, from what she said, questioning our relationship at that point. We weren't husband and wife yet, but she, because she was a nurse, she thought maybe because I'm diabetic, she thought maybe my medicine was causing some type of diabetic psychosis. And then after that 3 days, she started seeing some of the same things, and she was seeing much, much more that was going on around me, as like when I would be in my bedroom at night, in the bedroom before she'd come to bed, she would see clouds of orange and purple surrounding outside the door, and she would open up the door as I was sleeping, and she would see something that looks like a tornado above me, happening right above me, and she also did not need to use a nightlight because I physically glow at nighttime, as well as the tornado was glowing.
Right. And I know, like, in whether you or not follow religious beliefs, they talk about demonic and evil. Did you have any idea of if this force was a negative force or something maybe?
Oh, no, I see negative forces all the time. That's not what this
Right.
was. No, they later showed it to me as well, as when I was awake. They showed me the tornado funnel above me, and then I saw little tiny lights going up through the tornado, as well as I saw some that were coming down through it as well, and down here.
Yeah.
But when I see negative energies, they're red.
Right.
They're red. Because I see into what we refer to as heaven, but I also see into what people think is hell, which is not, but it's the low energy, a dark place is what I call it.
Right.
And I see beings there. Everyone there has a hue of blue to them, like a glowing hue of blue to them. But then I see the negative ones that are actually, they're pulsating a very dark red.
Right. So I guess when you started to see these occurrences, is it something that like sparked some like exploration where you wanted to find out what is happening in my life? Why is this occurring?
Oh yeah, it scared the crap out of me what was going on, because I've seen spirit throughout my entire life, but I've never had any type of experience like this before. I mean, this was seeing spirit to the 10th power. It was so much that was going on. It just, I mean, I saw all kinds of little creatures coming out of the walls and walking all over my bed, and yeah, it was just, it was very creepy. I mean, even for me, seeing spirit throughout my entire life, it was very creepy for me. So yeah, my wife and I went on the internet and we looked around, tried to find some things that would help us. We saw one thing where if you put salt around the room, that will repel the spirit. That does nothing. It only does one thing. It makes your room salty. They said put some crosses up. Well, cross is a form of punishment, so how are you going to make something negative go away with a form of punishment? You're not. You can say a bunch of prayers, but prayers not for asking for more than you're supposed to have. Prayers for giving thanks for what you do have. So there are a lot of things out there. They said burn sage, but how is burning sage here in a physical realm? How is the smoke from a physical item in a physical realm going to transpose into a non-physical realm and harm a being that doesn't have lungs and doesn't smell and doesn't breathe? It doesn't.
Right.
Because these beings have told me that sage does nothing to them. They laugh at that. They think it's funny what we do. So we tried all those things, and none of it worked. We ended up having a paranormal group come to the house. Now, when we finally got a hold of them and they showed up with their van out in front of my house with their little insignia on it. And at that moment, I just thought to myself, I don't want to be this kind of famous,
Mm.
because everyone in my neighborhood is going to think that they have, they're living next to a poltergeist house or something like that. Unfortunately for them, they were. But they came to my house. They got, there was 4 people. One guy was just the leader. Another guy was, did all the electronic work. There was a woman who had a camera. She was taking pictures. And then another guy with a video camera. And they were walking around doing experiments throughout my house. And they did everything at nighttime. And like the one woman, she was taking pictures, and I was walking around the house talking to the different people, and she was just snapping photos. And then she called one of the other guys over, and she said, "Hey, you got to come look at this." And I said, what do you see? And she said, "Well, I'm really not supposed to show you, Mr. Jackson, not till the big reveal, but you have to take a look at this," because she said, "I've never seen this before." So I was interested, because I've watched all the ghost shows before and all that. So she shows the pictures, and she says, "Okay, here's a picture of him, and here's a picture of him." I said, "Okay, and then now here's a picture of you with both of them." And I was like, "What's that?" And she said, "Oh, those are light orbs." She said, "You have somewhere, I don't know, looks like between 15 and 20 of them completely surrounding you, but nothing around the other guys." And she said, "So look here, I'll show another picture of you with one guy, and again, it's just they're all surrounding me and nothing around him." And then she said, "Okay, here's a picture of just them, nothing. Here's a picture of them with your wife, nothing. Here's a picture of you and your wife completely surrounding you and nothing around your wife." And I was like, "What's that supposed to mean?" She said, "I have no idea. I've seen them, but not this many." And I was like, "Okay." So then they set up these little boxes with little lights on them and wires sticking off of them. And I said to one guy, "What's that do?" And he said, "Oh," he said, "Spirit put off a static electricity." So he rubs his hand on my couch and he waves his hand above it. A little light comes up and it makes this bloop noise. And I was like, "Oh, that's neat, cool." So he puts them all around the room and around the doorway by my bedroom. And and then they said, "So where do you have a lot of activity go on, the most activity?" I said, "I don't know, pick a spot in the house. It's everywhere in the house." So he said, "How about the bedroom?" I said, "Okay, let's go in there." I walked through the doorway. As soon as I walked through, every one of those boxes lit up, just whoop, all around. I was like, "What?" And I turned around and looked back at them, and I'm like, "What gives?" And they're looking at me like, "We don't know." And then they walked through, and nothing happened. So we go in the room, and the video guy says, "Can we go in your walk-in closet? I feel drawn to go in there." I said, "Sure." So I walk in. He walks in behind me. I turn around. He looks at me and says, "I think I'm going to get sick." And I said, all right, let's go back out. So he goes back out and sits on the bed. And I said, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm okay." He said, "Can we go back in?" I said, "Sure." So we go back in. I'm standing there. I look at him again. He's like, I think I'm going to get sick again." He runs back out. He sits on the bed, and he looks at me, and I said, "Are you okay?" He said, "Yeah." "How come you're not getting sick?" I said, "I don't know. You're the expert. You tell me." I said, "I don't know what's going on here." So we leave out of the bedroom. I walk out the door. Every one of those boxes lights up again. They come through the door. Nothing. So they're trying to figure out what the heck's going on. They wanted to go down in my basement, and we walked down there, and I'm standing there talking to one of the guys, and as I'm talking to him, I walk away, and he says, "Can you come back here a minute, Mr. Jackson?" I said, "Sure. Why? What's up?" He says, "Stand right here." And I said, "Okay, what's here?" And he says, "Turn around." He said, "That mirror behind you." I said, "All right." And I turn around and look at the mirror, and the mirror is vibrating. I walk away. He says, "Okay, walk away." I walk away, and it stops. And I was like, "I don't know, buddy. I don't know what to tell you." So, and then we go into a back room. It's completely dark in there, and one guy said, "Okay, I want to do a test." He said, "Is there anybody here with us?" And then you hear a knock above us. You hear, and he's like, "Did anybody make that?" I said, "There's no way. There's no wood here except 4 feet above us to make that." So he says it again, and it knocks again. And then after it knocks, a light on the floor turns on like a light bulb, like bloop, turns on, turns off. And he says, you got any lights on the floor? I said, you're standing on carpet. Where the hell am I going to have lights at? And then he said, instruct somebody to turn the light on. They turned the light on, and there's no lights on the floor. And he's like, where did that come from? I said, I don't know. You tell me. You're the experts. But the big one was when we went back upstairs, and they wanted me to go in my bedroom and pretend as though I was sleeping. And I said, sure, why do you want to do that? He said, oh, we're going to bring in an ovulus. And I was like, an ovulus? He said, yeah, it's a spirit box. He said, it's got like 10,000 words in it. And he said, and the energy will bring spirit in and they can speak through it. I was like, all right. So I go in and lay down. And when I lay down, they come back in. They turn the box on. And immediately when they turn the box on, it says Wendy, Michael, Paul, Helen, unique, special, energy, light. One time it says the word road, like a street. It says road. And then a car went past my house. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? So then they asked their questions for 10 minutes straight. They said they timed it, and it was exactly 10 minutes. And every time they asked a question, an answer came through. And one of the questions they asked was, are you here to harm Daniel? And then that computer voice came through and said, no, we are not here to harm Daniel. We love Daniel. We love Daniel's light. Daniel is the light. When it said Daniel is the light, I was like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? And then they finished the conversation. They left. I got up out of bed. I went out there. They were standing around in a huddle. And I said to my wife, what's going on here? And she said, I don't know, but they seem pretty agitated by it. And I was like, okay. So they got done. They turned around, and I looked at them surprised, like happy, because my wife and I had been going through this for about 6 months, and they were there witnessing what we had been going through, all of it, and well, most of it. And so I said to them, I said, hey, you got all that, right? You heard all that, right? And he said, well, yeah, we heard it, Mr. Jackson, but there's an issue. And I said, what's the issue? It didn't sound bad. He said, no, there's not a issue in that way. He said, but whenever we use this box, we can get it to spit out a word or two. But it never says sentences, and not for 10 minutes. And I said, oh, he said, but we have to leave. We'll leave, and we will come back in a couple of weeks and give you a big review. And I said, what am I supposed to do until then? And he said, well, he gave me this bottle of water. And I said, what's that squirt bottle for? He said, oh, there's holy water in there. He said, if anything bad happens, you just spray the holy water. Well, nobody can bless water. They just can't. That's a bunch of bull crap. You can't bless water. And when you spray it, it just becomes water. Okay, that's it. And then he said they give you some prayers and stuff like that. And again, we already knew that those things don't work. So, and then they were supposed to come back 2 weeks later. They never came back. I ended up getting a hold of them 6 weeks later, and I asked the guy, I said, when you coming back? He said, oh, I can't get the team together. He says, once we got on your front lawn, they broke up. He said, I can't get them back together. I said, well, are you going to come back to my house and help me? He said, no, I don't feel comfortable coming in there. He said, we don't get that kind of information from one home, Mr. Jackson. That takes like 10 or 15. So from that point, I moved on to finding 5 mediums, and none of them knew each other, and every one of them told me the same story about me, which is, unfortunately, one of them wanted me to go to her show. She was having a show, and because I spoke to her on the phone, she said, you need to come to my show because I want you to see how I do it. And I was like, how you do it? She said, yeah, I want you to see how I do it. I didn't understand what she meant by that at that point because, again, I had a ton of ghost stories. I just was trying to get this all figured out. I really was. Yeah. And I was scared at some of it, but not all of it because, I mean, I've had some experiences. I remember when I was in my 20s, I played in a rock band. I had big hair and zebra stripe spandex. I thought I looked cool. The 80s, whatever. But I came home from a gig, and when I laid down in bed, something laid down next to me. And it happened like 3 or 4 times. And then that 5th time when I rolled over to see what was there, whatever was there, picked up the blanket that I had on top of me. It brought it up to the ceiling and shook it above me, and then it dropped it on top of me. I mean, I couldn't scream, yell, nothing. I couldn't get anything out. I ran downstairs to tell my mom and dad about it, but they had told me they hadn't seen anything since then. But for the next 2 years, I slept on the couch because I was so frightened by that. But And I've had other instances similar to it, but the ones I was seeing at my home at this point before turning 50, excuse me, that was the worst. So I bought some tickets to go see this show. My wife and I went, and we show up, and I go through the door, and the lady's standing on the stage, and then she just like locks eyes with me and my wife and follows us as we go through the room and sit down. And my wife looks at me and said, "That was kind of creepy." And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Did you tell her you were coming here?" I said, "I told her I was going to buy tickets. I didn't tell her I was coming to this show. I just said I'd buy some tickets." So she ends up telling the room how she does everything. She said she gets pictures in her mind, and she will see a spirit come up and show her these things, and then she'll say it out to the crowd. And if it equates to anybody, just stand up and say, "This is me," and tell me a little bit about it, and then I'll proceed after that. So she read one person, and then she started saying some information after that one about this guy named Bob. His name is Robert, but he goes by Bob, and he wears these flannel shirts and T-shirts on the weekends, but a business suit on the when he goes to work. And the first lady stands up and says, "Oh, I think that's my Uncle Bob." And she said, "Well, he's also showing me that he fell down, and that's how he passed away." And she said, "No, that's not my Uncle Bob." And then the woman had to tell her, "Look, I know everyone here wants to get an answer from somebody, but not every spirit here is just for one person. So give everybody a chance." So, and then when she said, "So yeah, he's showing me that he fell down, and that's the way he passed away." That's when I stood up and said, "Yeah, my name's Daniel." I said, "That's my father. His name's Robert, but he goes by Bob, and he wears flannel shirts and T-shirts. But that's the way he passed away. He fell down going up a flight of steps, and it moved his brainstem, and that's why he passed away." And she said, "Yeah, but who's the one that made the big decision for him?" I said, "Big decision?" She said, "Yeah, to pull the plug. Her name is Sarah." And I said, "Sarah, that's my niece." She said, "No, Sarah, who had to pull the plug." I was like, "Oh, that's my mom. My mom's name is Joan. Her middle name is Sarah." Nobody knows that. So, and then she said he's showing me someone who gets on a school bus and what looks like it wears like a doctor's uniform and then shows prison bars. I said, "Oh, yeah, that's me. I went to school for medical records, and now I work inside of a prison." So I knew all of that was taking place. So at the end of the show, I went down and introduced myself and said, "My name's Daniel Jackson." She said, "Oh, you're the guy I talked to on the phone a couple of weeks ago." I said, "Yeah." She said, "What'd you think of the show?" I said, "Oh, it was interesting." She said, So you understand what happened here?" I said, "Well, yeah, but I've seen stuff like that on TV before, but sure, I get what's going on here." She said, "But do you understand why you're here?" I said, "Nope." She said, "Because I understand that you see a lot of spirit." I said, "Oh, lady, for me, it's like being in a room with 1,000 people, except nobody leaves, more just keep coming in." She said, "Yeah." She said, "You have an ability to see them, but you have so many around you because they're coming to see you." And I said, "Why are they coming to see me?" And she said, "Oh, I could see you. I felt you on the other side of the room." And she said, "I saw you walk in the door." She said, "I see you like spirit sees you, as I know how spirit sees you. Spirit sees you, they see your body frame, and then they see a light inside of you." And I said, yeah, I get that because I understand it." And she said, "Well, that light inside of you is your soul." She said, "I don't see you that way, and spirits don't see you that way either." I said, "How do they see me?" She said, "You look like a human figure, but you just look like a light figure." She said, "You look like a beacon of light." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "They're coming to you because they think that you're the light into heaven." And I said, "What did you say?" She said, "They think you're the light into heaven. That's why they're coming to you." She said, "You're the brightest light I've ever seen. Never seen anybody so bright." She said, "I can understand why they're coming to you." And I said, "What the hell am I supposed to do with that?" She said, "Well, you have to have a talk with God to figure out what you're going to do next." I said, "Do next?" She said, "Yeah, whether or not you're going to become a medium." I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Oh, Daniel," she said, "you're just a medium. You're just untrained. You just don't know." I said, I am? She said, yes, you are. She said, now you have to figure out what you're going to do next. She said, you don't want this to go away from you, do you? I said, no, it's been my entire life. She said, well, then you have to make a decision whether you're going to move forward with it or not. And you have to talk to God about that because he is the one who gave it to you. As I know now, anyone who has an ability, this isn't a gift you just get. This is a gift. This is an ability that is put into your soul during the creation of your soul. And you wake up with it sometimes, and sometimes you don't, but it is with your soul every single time you are here. And this is what we're meant to do. So she said I had to have a talk with God to decide whether or not I was going to move forward with this ability and use it or not and let it go away. But so my wife and I were on the way home. We were talking about it, and we get home, and then I said to my wife, I guess I'm going to have this talk, but how do I talk to God? And my wife is very good at putting things into perspective of me. She said to me, how do you talk to him any other time? I said, okay, I guess I'll go in. She said, yeah, this is your decision, not mine. So I went in and sat down on the bed and turned out the lights. And I told him, I said, God, I said, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do anything you want me to do. And I nervously said this too. I said, I'll go wherever you want me to go. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll be whatever you want me to be. Whatever you want me to do. If you want me to help these people or souls, I'll do whatever you want me to do. But I need help because I don't know what I'm doing here. And I need help to figure this out. And once I get it figured out, if this is what you want, I'll do it. So at that point when I said that, I was at rock bottom. I had no other place to go or idea of what to do, what was taking place, and why it was taking place so much. Again, I've seen spirit before throughout my life, but not this much. And I knew because of the quantity of it and the quality of it, because it was just so vivid that there had to be something more to it. So I that's what I told them. I walked out of the bedroom, said to my wife, I guess we'll see what happens. And then the very next day, everything changed. And then I started some of the scary stuff started going away, faded away. And then there were people who were brought into my life because I said yes, moving forward with that path. Those people were brought to me in my life. And then they helped. I ended up working with a group of mediums. One woman was actually one of the people I was trying to get a hold of for a paranormal group. She had an intuition class, and she asked me to come there. And then from that class, she asked me to join her and this other group of mediums, and they were going to help me to develop this, and they did. And now every single one of them come to me for answers because they know who the hell I talk to and who talks to me. So, and that's where it started, and now it's that was 9 years ago, and now I understand that my guides, everyone in this world has actual spiritual guides. But my guides are what we refer to as archangels. They are not men with wings and shields and swords. They are not magical beings that are going to fix your life. I mean, why would a guardian angel keep you from getting sick but not keep your dog from getting hit by a car? Because they don't do either. That's why.
I'd love you to tell everyone more about, we hear about angels or guides and all these terminologies. Is it a singular entity?
No.
If it's multiple, how do you tap into asking for guidance, or what is the limit to where can they just show you synchronicities and signs, or can they actually do stuff for you?
They can talk to you, but again, you're going to have spirit guides. You're not going to have angels with you. No one has an angel with you unless you are performing a specific task that God wants you to do, and you're very aware of this because you've had a conversation with him, as I did, and then you had to be worked on. Your body had to be purged, and your soul had to be worked on to be able to accept the energy, to be able to work with the energy. But you do have spirit guides who are here with you, and they do help you in many ways by giving you guidance, giving you opportunities to do things. But because of those opportunities, you have free will to choose whether or not you're going to do them, and most people don't. They talk themselves right out of it. But they are here to provide the information to us nonetheless. And whether we choose to use that information is up to us. You have to learn to listen, trust, and follow through with what your spiritual guides are telling you, as well as your intuition, your soul. That's what your intuition is, your soul.
Yeah.
And once you learn how to listen, trust, and follow through, but having to follow through every single time, your life would be on a much easier path for yourself, and it'll become a much simpler way of lifestyle as well. But again, you have to choose to do that. Not everybody
Yes.
does. They choose to talk themselves out of it because they want to use their selfishness and their ego instead, or listen to someone else who doesn't know anything about them.
Yeah.
Truly.
'Cause I guess for me personally, when I'm having a conversation or speaking to my guides, asking for guidance, I
Sure.
guess I find that it's almost on and off. Like there's times where I'll get nudges or see signs that will come to me in angel numbers or different animals will repetitively come to me. But then there'll
You
be
got to have
times where,
patience.
yeah, there's times where it kind of like fades away, and it's like, how do we differentiate within us that it's our internal voice or it's actually guidance coming from a higher point?
Oh, it's both. It's both. It's more than just an internal voice. But what you're getting from yourself is you're going to get those gut feelings, those knowings. We say the sayings all the time, like I should have listened to myself more. Well, the self you're talking about is your soul, or something's telling me. Well, that something is your soul telling you to do this, or I should, or you're about to walk into a building and you say this. You say, I don't feel right about going in there. Well, that's your soul telling you don't go in there. Or, this feels good to me. Or when you get goosebumps, when you get goosebumps, what do you think that is? That's your soul coming through, letting you know that this is the good thing. This is the right thing to do. And that's what you're going to get from your own intuition, from your soul, from your spirit guides
Right.
in that way. But you can also get pure, clear and concise messages from your spirit guides as well, voices, them talking to you. The way you're going to do that is through meditation. But if you want to get clear and concise messages all the time, there's a process of things that you have to release from yourself in order to be able to get those messages. And the list, no one likes. No one does. Because they think once you let go of all this stuff, what do you have? They're afraid of it. They're in fear of letting it go. Because what you have to let go of is your pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, hate, greed, drama, depression, anxiety, no smoking, no drinking, no doing drugs. And if you have tattoos, stop getting them. Because what's more important? Is it more important to be spiritually free or to be fashionable? And they don't want to do it. They don't want to let these things go because it's hard. Because life is not meant to be easy. If it was meant to be easy, what would be the point of living? If you were given everything, you wouldn't appreciate the things that you do have. So that's just the way it is. And if you want clear and concise answers from your spiritual guides in full sentences, in full conversations, you have to let go of everything that you have gained here, that you have learned how to have here. What you have to do is go back to almost the mindset of being when you were 2 years old. Because when you're 2 years old, that's why young children are able to speak the spirit and see spirit and communicate with spirit, because they are pure of heart, and you must go back to being pure of heart.
Right.
And it's hard for people to do.
Yeah. And would you say part of that process is identifying, bringing awareness to something like your ego and being able to transcend it and transmute it into something higher?
Yes, because ego has absolutely no place within spirituality whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, ego's favorite invention is abundance. Abundance, abundance, abundance. No, it's about having enough. Ego invented abundance. And you hear abundance, abundance, abundance within spirituality all the time. No, BS, BS, BS. That's what it is. Yeah.
Right.
Can I cuss on here? Can I cuss on this one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bullshit. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Complete and total bullshit. Abundance, abundance, abundance. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit.
But is it our birthright to be able to still attract abundance, or does it have to come from
No,
the
that's
right
your human
intention?
thing. That's your
Right.
human side. That's your egotistical side, wanting abundance,
Okay.
wanting more of everything, more than everybody else. No, we're here to share everything. There's
Yeah.
enough of everything in the world to share. We can do that, but we choose not to because we have power and control over each other.
Yeah, and
Ego.
I believe the biggest conflict is this it's inner conflict of people not understanding their spiritual nature. Was how can we begin to recognize our unity, our oneness, if we're not tapped into our own inner self and we're living unconsciously? So how can we spread that to people, or are people on their own divine karmic guideline when they're only ready to awaken, when they're meant to awaken?
Well, I myself put a message out there as much as possible. I go out there. I have a podcast that I do that on a streaming spiritual network. We go out and spread the word to each other, but we have to bring it to those who are willing to listen at the same time. Those who are willing to actually learn at the same time too. I have people who do come and listen to me when I talk about this on other shows, and there's other live shows that I do, and there are some who really do truly want to listen and do truly want to learn, and then there are others who just want to say they want to learn, but they fight against everything because they just don't they can't completely commit to it. But eventually they will, but it just takes time. And everyone's not on the same time and the same path at the same time. But you have to figure that out for yourself and figure out what's going to work for you at this point and what's not. Because there is no right and wrong, there's no epic failures, and there's no mistakes within our lives whatsoever. It's only what works and what doesn't work, and we have to figure out what's going to work for us at this moment. And that just takes time.
Yes.
But we got to make a conscious effort to do it.
Right. Yeah. And I'd love to ask you, Daniel, when you're growing up in a home and you have family members around you, you maybe going through your own spiritual journey, and maybe those members around you are unconscious to that truth, or they're not on the journey yet. How can you help people who are dealing with this conflict of, you want to give guidance to people, but it's kind of backlashing, and you got a lot of egos around you, and it's very hard
I
to
don't talk to those
like,
people anymore. There are those people I don't talk to anymore because they're not willing to listen. They don't want to listen. They don't want to believe in any of it at all. But that's up to them to decide. Everyone has free will. They all have a choice to do what they want to do. And if there are those who are willing to listen, who want to learn, I will communicate with. I will talk with. Those who do not, I have no time for. I'm not going to bother with it.
Yeah, if it's your family, how are you able to maintain a relationship with?
Oh, my family? Oh,
yeah.
That's my sister is a very negative person. I've cut myself off from my sister a couple of years ago because everything is everyone else's fault. It's never her fault. Not that anyone has to talk about fault all the time, but it's always she's very narcissistic, very has to be right about everything all the time, and that's just not the way that it is. So I've cut myself off from her. My other two brothers understand what I do, but I wouldn't say they're completely and fully on board with what I do, although they don't experience as much as I do or have throughout my lifetime. That's hard for people to understand that or to get that. They think that there are some people out in the world who just think what I do is hogwash, but because they haven't witnessed it for themselves, they have a hard time with understanding it. But I do give people a point of reference to understand what I do, because they want proof of everything. So what I always tell them to do is I always tell them to take their two hands and cup it together. And then in that cup, like you're trying to hold water in your hand, I tell people to look inside that cup. And then I say, can you show me fear or anger? And they look inside, and I go, can you show me grief or guilt or anything like that? Can you see any of those things in there? And they say, no. And I say, right, you can't see any of that, but you sure do make a hell of a lot of decisions based on things that you can't see all day long. But you want me to prove to you that I am seeing who I'm seeing without showing it to you. And then they look at me and they go, oh. I go, right. Now let's move forward. So I mean, but again, not everybody's going to believe in it. But I can only help the ones who want to believe in it, who truly want to believe or know. As I give the examples of like I say, when you walk into a place and and you feel like, oh, I don't feel right about this. Where do you think that's coming from? They always say, I don't know where it's coming from. Or again, there's something telling me. That something is your soul. Get on board with it. Wake the hell up and understand that you are meant to be more than you think you are in this world. But the other problem is we have the world always telling us, society always telling us to not have any trust and faith within ourselves to do anything in this world. They don't want us to know how powerful we truly are.
Mm. Yes. And, do you believe that religion has a negative effect on recognizing our spiritual abilities?
Oh, you mean the people who want to tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it while giving them 10%?
Yes.
Sure. Of
Yeah.
course they do. They're all about power and control and greed.
Mm.
Yeah. There are too many things within that good book that are contradictions that just, they don't make any sense. I mean, do you honestly believe, in the good book it says, God says it's okay to go to war. He also says it's okay to slay the young and old, meaning kill old people and young people during wartime. Do you honestly believe God would say that about anybody?
Mm.
I mean, come on. It also said in the very beginning of the Bible that we should obey our rulers. Well, the only people who would put that in there are rulers, because the people who wrote the book were kings and queens. That's who.
So then why are
The high
people,
society.
yeah, yes. And so why are people so turned to religion rather than just recognizing that there's something more powerful than a script?
Because it's been shoved down our throat for thousands of years. That's why.
Mm.
It's everywhere. I mean, this is how you can tell when religion has control of the world. Stand in front of a crowd of people and then sneeze. Because eventually someone's going to say, God bless you. It's right there. It's always there. Although, you know where that saying actually came from? Around the time when Jesus was walking around in the world, when you would sneeze, they would say, God bless you, because they thought demons were exiting your body. So they would say, God bless you, so the demons wouldn't return. The only problem was everybody kept sneezing.
Mm.
So, yeah, that doesn't happen. But even in the, here's the biggest contradiction that I talk about all the time. Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, okay? Father and the Son, of course. No Holy Ghost. How do you know he's holy?
Mm.
How do you know he's holy unless you talk to him? Because in the Bible, in Leviticus 19:31, do you know who Leviticus is? Leviticus is not a person. Leviticus was a tribe of people. Everybody who sat around a campfire made all the rules. Those people. They said in Leviticus 19:31 that if you're speaking to spirit, if spirit is communicating with you and you're communicating with spirit, you're talking to demons and devils. That makes you a medium, of which you're not allowed to do. Now,
Yeah.
how would you know that the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, first he was the Holy Ghost, now they changed it, now they call him the Holy Spirit. How would you know that the Holy Spirit is holy without speaking to him? Now, who in religion is the lucky piece of crap out there, a lucky son of a bitch that's allowed to talk to spirit? Because somebody talked to him. But of which, if you talk to him, that makes you a medium. So somebody in religion is a medium, of which it says you're not allowed to be in religion. The whole thing is an entire contradiction. I mean, do you actually believe that Noah lived to be 590 years old?
Mm.
Really? Even Adam lived to be 560 or 570 years old. Do you honestly believe that took place? Do you actually believe that someone could live in the belly of a whale? Do you believe that it actually they had the big giant flood, and then after the flood and everyone died, somehow Noah's daughters got married to two people? Well, how did they get married? Because everyone died. And if it actually rained for 40 days and 40 nights, there would actually be so much water in the air, everyone would drown from breathing. There's too many contradictions. There's just too much. It's all about power and control and keeping you under their thumb. And no, and that suppresses us. That suppresses the spirituality. In the Old Testament, they mentioned mediums over 1,800 times as being the word of God. But when the Bible came out, that was all taken out.
Mm.
So which is it? And if religion is right, how come there are so many of them? And which one is correct? None of them. Because he is neither a fearful God or a merciful God. He's a loving God, and he loves all of us. And he gives us all free will to make our own choices, and you're not going to be punished by those choices by making the choices that are best for you or send us to a horrible place for that. I mean, God being so smart and being so intelligent, don't you think if he thought we were going to make some bad choices, he would have put a limit on those choices? But he didn't. So why? I mean, why would in the Bible, he is enslaving us, and he's in power and control of us. Why wait till we're humans? Why not just create souls and then enslave them first? Why wait for them to become humans? Why have them become humans at all if he just wanted to enslave a race of beings? He could have just done it after he created them. Because people enslave each other. Because people have control and power over each other. Not God. God sent us to learn. There's a saying who says, God bless you. He did. He put us here. He wants us to figure out the rest. He wants us to know that we're more than we're meant to be here for, or what we think we are meant to be here for, which is ego and power and control and greed.
So then why do you believe you tell people who says, oh, why did God let wars happen? Why did God let the Holocaust happen? What do you say to those people?
How do we learn? How do you learn not to break your leg if you don't break your leg once? I mean, if you had a guardian angel walking around guarding you from everything in your life, what would you learn? Nothing. How do we learn without having instances happen in our lives? How do we learn to cure cancer without having cancer? If life was meant to be perfect, then why be here at all?
So you believe that death could bring growth to other souls around us?
Well, death is going to happen no matter what you do. I mean, the body doesn't last forever. No one lives to be 150 years old. Besides, at that point, it's going to hurt to pee, and who wants to be here for that? There are two rules in this world. As long as you comprehend the rules and you pay attention and you follow the rules, you will appreciate your life and everyone else's life around you more. And rule number one is people die every day. And rule number two is you can't change rule number one. When it's your time to go, it just is. So you better figure it out before it is your time to go. But that's only death of the body. Life continues. Everything else is just a continuation, just another step. Another step towards learning, learning your lessons and fulfilling your purpose. That's what we're here to do. We're here to fulfill a purpose. And if we don't get the purpose fulfilled, that's why we continue to come back over and over and over again. Other mediums, other practitioners will say it's all about lessons. No, it's about fulfilling the purpose. Because lessons is something you're going to do through your life. You're going to figure it out or you're not going to figure it out. But purpose is a choice. And purpose is not becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. Purpose is not occupation because not all of us have occupations. Purpose is we're here to help each other just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because you should. In a way, we're going to do something for someone they cannot physically possibly do for themselves, or you're helping them to figure it out. Or all of God's creation. Like if you're driving down the street in a car and you see a dog out in the middle of the street, and you're one of those people who goes and gets the dog out of the street, maybe helps it find its owner, or takes it to a vet, or does something with the dog so it doesn't have to suffer, because maybe it got hit by the car a little bit. Or you're the other person that says, I'm late for work. I don't have time for that dog. Well, if you're late for work, get up earlier. It's pretty simple. But people don't seem to figure that out. But that's what purpose is. Doing the acts of kindness, doing things for the reason of just because. That's what we are here to do, to take care of each other.
Yeah,
that's what Jesus wanted us to do.
Yeah. And I think people get that so wrong because the purpose is stemming from their ego's desires. I need to make
but
this.
They think purpose is me taking a picture. Look I fed all these people, and look how wonderful I am, and having to do it on television in front of TV cameras. No, that's ego, because the people who are doing the most in this world you don't hear of, because they don't need to be patted on the back for it. They don't need to show everybody their accolades and how wonderful they are to everyone else. That's an egotistical piece of shit bullshit thing that's going on there. They are what I call attention whores. That's what they are.
Yeah. So how do we recognize our truest purpose, that is God's purpose living through us?
By going home and be able to stay home and not have to come back and do this all over again. By fulfilling your purpose. Doing things for act of kindness, doing it for the reason of just because. Like, as an example, I went to the bank a couple of months ago one morning I wake up and I say to myself, so I got to go to the bank today. And they touch me on my face, yes. And I said, what time should I go? And I hear inside my mind, 3 o'clock. I said, 3 o'clock today? And they said, yes. Touched me on the face. I said, okay. I go to the bank. I walk in. I do my business. I come out. As I'm walking out, I see a man coming across the parking lot, and he had a walker, and I could tell he had his hat on. I knew he was a vet because I could see on his hat because my wife's a vet. And I'm not a vet. I'm just a vet on her bullshit. Just kidding. So anyway, so I see him coming across the parking lot, and I yelled to him. I said, hey, mister, are you coming in here? And he said, yes, I am, but it's going to be a minute. And I said, okay, I'll wait. So he comes up to the curb, and I said, let me get the door for you. And he said, oh, thank you, son. I appreciate that. I opened the door for him because I knew coming in and going in and coming out of that door, it was heavy. And I didn't want him to struggle with that walker trying to get into the door. So I opened the door for him. He goes in. I said, all right, let me get the other door. But the people inside electronically opened that door for him. And I said, look at that. They opened the door for you. I said, awesome. And he said, yeah, that's great. And he walks in the door. And I said, are you going to be long? Do you want me to wait for you? And he's like, wait for me for what? I said, well, you got to come back through. I said, this door's heavy. I don't want you to go through it again. I don't want you to struggle. And he said, no, you go on. It'll be okay. That's purpose. You're doing it because you choose to do it, and you are there at the moment that when it needs to happen. But the only way that that's going to happen is if you learn to listen, trust, and follow through with what your spiritual guides and what your soul are telling you to do, what it is guiding you to do, of where to go and how to be when you get there. And then, again, it's going to give you the choice that when I saw the man coming across the parking lot, I could have just said, let me go out to my bike and get on there and go out. I could have, but I didn't. I saw him and I said, you know what? I don't want this guy to have a hard time. But I have to recognize what a hard time will be because I just went through it myself. Even though I'm able enough to get through that door, I recognized the door was heavy. And looking at him, I was like, this guy's got to have a hard time. We have to take the time and make the effort to think about that, to recognize that and understand it, and then possibly do something about it, not just for ourselves, but for those who are around us. That's what our purpose is. But we have to listen, trust, and follow through in order to be put into those places for those moments to happen.
Yeah.
Most people don't. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't pay attention to it. They listen to their ego instead, or their own selfishness, and don't do it.
Yeah. And I guess going into the next year, what do you believe, from your point of view, is humanity calling to work on? What should people focus on? How can we raise the consciousness and awaken the masses?
By putting out the message as much as we can, as much as possible, by spreading it everywhere that we can, letting everyone know that this is what we are meant to do. And how do we do that? We go out and I go on shows. I wrote a book about my life to help people. I have my own show to help people as much as I can. But being out there, being prominent in the world as well. Again, doing those acts of kindness like I just did at the bank, or 2 weeks ago I was at the mall walking around and I saw a woman, little old lady, come out of the store and she said, excuse me, do you know where AT&T or T-Mobile is? And I said, yeah, if you go down to the end of the mall here, make a left. She's like, oh, I'm going the wrong way. Making the conscious effort there to do these acts of kindness, and if we do them throughout humanity, throughout the world, eventually it's going to come around. Eventually people are going to get the idea that we're all here to help each other. As I always tell people, we all live on the same planet. No one's going anywhere anytime soon, so we better learn to get along with each other before we annihilate each other. If we would just learn to get along with each other and take care of each other and stop putting walls up around each other and pointing rockets at each other. But that's not going to happen through our government because they're always going to keep us under control. It has to be done by the people and for the people. That's where it has to begin. All of us have to be very aware of it, be conscious of what's going on in this world, and we have to make a stand. Because as I always tell everyone, stand up or be owned. And I wish not to be owned, and I will not be owned, but I will stand up, and I will talk to the people as much as I can, to everyone, because we're all in this together. We've always all been in this together. We just have to learn to figure that out.
Yes, I definitely resonate with that. And I think as well, it's just about unconditionally loving people, seeing the
Right.
limitations in all of us because we are not this human body. This is just a vessel that we are pure at our soul level,
Correct.
but you have to be
It's
able to
for
be
the soul to
conscious
be
of
here.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the soul is here to learn lessons and of the human body, to learn about the human body, live in the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
That the only reason for this vessel, so the soul can be here to learn about these things in this physical realm. So that the soul is the passenger and the body is the car, and it's just getting around where it needs to be, and it's the soul trying to get the body to do certain things in this world,
Yeah.
to learn things, and but again, the body has free choice to decide what it's going to do. So it's always a constant battle, but eventually we need to come together as one, as a humanity, as a race of people, the human race. But our soul and our body needs to come together as one as well, so we can work better together,
Mm. Yeah.
make
And
better conscious decisions.
yes, totally agree. And I'd love to ask you, Daniel, if you were to die tomorrow, what would be, in a nutshell, the last message you would leave humanity and those around you?
I would tell people not to judge each other. That's the most important part. That's the thing we have the most trouble with in this world. We were taught how to have judgment. You didn't wake up in your baby body having judgment. I mean, if you took two children of the age of 2 years old, or all children of the age of 2 years old, of every race, creed, and color, and stick them all in one room, and then turn two of them around and tell them to point to somebody that they hate, they're going to look at you like you're crazy because they haven't learned how to do it yet. So if we could get each other to not judge each other, when you're walking down through a street and you're coming up to your favorite store and you see somebody coming at you, and maybe you don't like the way that they look today, you don't like their hair, you don't like how they dress, you don't like their shoes that they have on, before you say a word, take a self-inventory of yourself. Think about yourself and think about all the crap you've been through your entire life. And then look back at that person and then bite your tongue and walk away. Or just say, hello. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you doing? I'm doing great. How about yourself? I have a little bit of trouble this morning. I said, yeah, me too, but I'm trying to push through it. How about you? I think I will too. I said, I hope you have a great day. I hope you do too. Do that. Do that instead of judging each other, because that you don't have the right to do that. Nobody does.
Mm.
No one here is better than anyone else. We all came here from the same place, the soul family. We're all here the same place. We can all go back to the same place if you choose. And I say that as a choice because not everybody goes back to heaven, because they just don't, because there's many spirits that walk into heaven. There's that many that don't. But we all have an opportunity to go back home. And we all came here the same way. We all put our pants on the same way. We eat breakfast the same way. We put our shoes on the same way. We all do pretty much everything the same way. There are those who are a little bit different because we have different disabilities and those types of things. But we can all figure out how we can help each other in this world and take care of everybody in this world, because and share everything in this world, because there's enough of everything in this world to share. We don't have to always do an exchange of money. We can just do an exchange that you give me this because I'm helping you. I'm a doctor, and I'll give you this because I'm a farmer. And we can call it a day. That's what we can do. We can just learn to take care of each other because we can, because we should. We just need to get that figured out. We need to let go of that whole power and control and greed thing.
Yes, unfortunately, it's been installed in our society for so many years by these higher powers who almost understand consciously that this is the way that they negate our spiritual powers and taking control of ourselves as individuals.
Yeah, well, the only reason they're in higher power is because we allow them to be there. We have to stop allowing it.
I know.
Yeah, just like if you're walking around, I don't care if it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your best friend, or your so-called best friend. If you have people in your life who are not being good to you, who are not being a powerful force in your life, helping you to be the best version of you, while you're doing the same for them, if they're not holding up their end of the deal, get rid of them.
Yeah.
And these people who are in power and control, they're only there because we allow them to be there. Famous people are only famous because we allow them to be famous. We make them famous. We make these other people who they are. We give them their titles. It's time to take those titles away because they are using an abuse of power. And that's what the problem is. We need to take that abuse away. take that
Yeah.
power away. We need to learn to take the power back is what we have to do.
Yeah, and I believe a lot of taking the power back comes with your own self-empowerment. Once you become
Right.
this conscious divine being where you understand all of it, then you can provide it to others. And it's like a rippling effect. But until you
Right. To
don't
help each other
recognize it within yourself, yeah, then it's,
yes, becoming the best version of yourself that you can be while helping others to do the same, which in turn helps you.
yeah, yeah,
That's what we're here to do.
I definitely agree. And would you be able to take people through, or if you have an understanding of what it is, what would it be like to be in like the spirit world? Is it something that you could sense as a human, or is there no words to describe it?
All depends on where you want me to talk about.
You die, and would you have an understanding of what happens? You die, you go over your body. You know, a lot of people talk about
when
near
you stand
death
up out of your
experience.
body, you're going to get perfect. Yeah, you'll stand up out of your body. You'll get perfect memories of your lifetime here, because your body and your brain actually blocks that from happening. But
Yeah.
you're also going to get the perfect memories of all your other lifetimes. And then when you stand up out of your body, you're going to take a step to the left. You'll look to the right, and you'll see a light turn on for you. And you're either going to walk into that light or you're not. And if you walk in, you'll return home. If you don't walk in, you'll remain here in the low energy, earthbound realm, some people call it, but it's the low energy realm. Some people think it's hell, it's not. But there are nefarious things that are going on there all the time. I see it all day long. Sometimes what I see there is like watching the worst horror movie you've ever seen in your life, except you wouldn't be able to see the movie because they wouldn't show it on TV movies. It's that kind of bad. But it is going on. So, and
Yeah,
they
is that
understand where they are. They're
yeah.
very conscious, very aware of where they are.
So is that what you would be seeing through your own experiences? Those spirits in your house, are those the spirits that haven't turned towards the light?
Yes, but I don't just see them in my house. I see them everywhere. I don't ever
Right.
not see. I don't ever not see, hear, feel, smell, sometimes taste. You don't want that part, and communicate with spirit throughout my
Yeah.
entire life, all day.
Yeah.
It never turns off. It never goes away, and it sounds fascinating until it's happening to you, and then it's not.
Yeah.
And I see the best of the best of what we call in heaven, and I see that all the time. But I mostly see what's in the worst place,
Mm.
the low energy dark realm, the dark place. I see what takes place there. You don't want to be there. Not everything there is bad, as well as there is no such thing as a rainbow bridge. Not everything crosses over into heaven. So all animals don't cross over into the light and go home. A lot of them get lost because they don't know where to go and what to do, as well as people get lost, as well as other people make a choice not to go into heaven. They stay here in the earthbound and low energy realm because of many things, because someone convinced them into they're a horrible person, or they're going to be judged by God. God doesn't judge us. We judge ourselves 1,000 times a day. Why does he need to do it once more? Because he doesn't. But people convince us that we're not good enough. You know, religion tells us that we're not good enough, that we're all sinners in this world. But you're only a sinner if you're breaking their rules. But that's only if you live by their rules. I don't. No one else has to either. But
Mm.
that's how they keep you under control, keep you under their thumb. But yeah, you get convinced of that. Or again, maybe you are a horrible person, or you are just being horrible and you like that negativity. Because we know people who walk around this world who are instigators and people who gossip, but they feel as though that gives them a sense of power. That's negative power, that they feel as though that this gives them a sense of power over other people. And when they do wake up out of the body, they don't want to give that up, because for you to walk into that light, you are letting go of all your pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, all that stuff, all that human garbage that was created for us and invented for us that we learned how to have. You let that go. But if you don't want to let it go, you'll remain here in the low energy realm where you still have it. But what a lot of people don't understand is when you are there, even the ghost hunters don't know this. When you're still there in a spirit world, in the low energy realm, you still feel physical pain. If another spirit were to walk up to you and punch you in the head, you'll still feel it. You do. You just do.
Yeah. Is it like an assimilation to the spirit world? You're still in that bodily form. The senses are still there.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're still in your form. The soul that's inside of you right now doesn't look like you. It looks
Yeah.
like you the last time you were here. But once it stands up out of the body, it will retain you this time, as well as all your experiences, all your thoughts, everything. And then, but also everything else from all your previous lifetimes as well, being here. And then You'll retain that wherever you go, but the only difference is when you walk into heaven, you'll let go of all the pain, anguish, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and all that stuff, and you'll be all about love and joy and forgiveness and all that stuff. You'll have all the good parts.
Mm. Yeah.
If you remain in a low energy realm, you still have everything you have right now, except you don't have a physical body. You still have a brain as well, as all souls do, but that brain is only for one thing, for communication.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But
would
that's
you
not where the
expect,
consciousness is. All consciousness is the soul.
yeah.
You're
So
not
in
you're
your
not turning
opinion,
on a pineal gland or something like that. That's a bunch of
yeah,
bullshit as well. That's
the third eye or the chakras, you don't believe in those?
no, there's no chakras. I mean, your soul doesn't have a heart chakra. It doesn't have a physical heart that's beating blood. So why would you have one?
Mm. So then
Breath
how are
work.
these,
Come on, your soul
yeah.
doesn't breathe. Your soul
Yeah.
doesn't breathe. Why does it need breath work? You don't. You breathe all day long. Why do you need breath work? You can't figure out how to slow your breathing down. You can't figure out how to calm yourself down. That's what people have the problems with the most. They can't figure out how to do that. They don't know how to do it. But why? Because they don't want to take the time or make the effort to do it. That's why.
Mm. So what
That's the only
people
way you'll
talk
get clear
about,
and concise answers. What's
yes,
that?
what people talk about, they're having these Kundalini awakenings or they're
Bullshit.
awakening their chakras.
There's no dark night of the soul. There's no such thing.
Interesting.
There isn't. Your soul is not dark. It's pure light. It's pure love and light.
Mm.
And that's what they mean by that. But our lives are not pure love and light because life is not easy. It's not meant to be easy. It's hard. It can be good, but you have to work at it. And you have to work at it because you learned how to have all that pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and all that stuff. Yeah, but that Kundalini stuff, complete and total bullshit. You have this ability because it's brought to you, because it's part of your soul during the creation of your soul. You can't force it. If you don't have it, there's nothing to force. They're lying. That's all. You can
So
have an
what?
awakening,
Yeah.
but not all awakenings are the same. You can have an awakening, waking up and understanding that the world is not as it's been told to you. That's
Mm-hmm.
one type of awakening. But with this ability, you either have it or you don't. And that's simple. You can't go take a class or take a college course and become a medium. It doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some times that you're not understanding you have it or you even know that you have it. And you do have an occurrence that happens in your life that wakes you up to it. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's already there.
Yeah.
But, it's not something that when you're a child and you're pure of heart, we are all coming to this world pure of heart. We just came from a perfect place and now we show up here again. You have an ability, but that ability goes away once it's washed away from all the pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and all that stuff. But some people are meant to have it. Some people are just not, as well as as I always tell people, some of us are just meant to be teachers. Others are
Mhm.
just meant to be students. And that's just the way
Yeah.
it is. But that doesn't mean we're not working. We're not working together and walking through this journey together. We all are. We
Mhm.
just have to figure that out.
Right. That's amazing. Look, I don't want to hold you up too long, but I'd like to ask you one more question. If
Oh, you're not holding
people,
me up, man. It's only 5:30 in the afternoon here. I'm not doing anything. You
I
ask
could,
whatever you want.
I could
I'm
speak
here.
about this forever. There's so many different tangents of ideas that come to my mind that I want to ask. It's so
Ask
fascinating.
whatever you want. I'm here, Jess.
Um, if people are on the spiritual journey and they're feeling lost, they're feeling misguided, they don't know which way to go, what would the best practical advice that you would give them based on your experience?
The most practical advice first is to get in touch with yourself. Before you move on to anything else, get in touch with yourself. Learn to let go of all your pain, your anger, your sorrow, your grief, your guilt, your anguish, your anxiety, your selfishness, your greed, your hate, your ego. You have to learn to let go of that first. You have to clear yourself out. Because again, in order to get clear answers, to get a better and a clearer understanding of what's truly going on within you and outside of you, you must be clear. As my guides tell me all the time, in order to get clear answers, you must be clear. That also is learning to no smoking, no drinking, no drugs. All those things, everything that I just talked about are blocks. And until you release those blocks from you, you're not going to get a true understanding of what being spiritual is. Because a true spirituality is letting go of all of that. And if you can't let go of it, you're not completely spiritual. You're not even on the road. And in order to get on that path, you got to be on the road first. The road to clearing yourself out first. And that's just a fact. And most people are not willing to do that. They want to go to their metaphysical store and think they're going to get some crystals and that's going to do it for them. Well, here's the thing. We live on a world that's completely and entirely made up of crystals and rocks, and you're standing on them all day long. How come they haven't already raised your vibrations? Why can they only work if you go to a store and buy one? Because they don't. They're not going to raise your vibrations. You cannot raise the vibrations of your soul. No one can. That is God energy, and you can't change God energy. Your soul's vibration had to be lowered in order to be put inside your body. Otherwise, your body would rip apart. Even the energies, even the spirit that are in the low energy realm have a higher vibration than we do because they're not connected to a body anymore. So, and in order for them to raise theirs, they would have to leave that place and go into heaven. So what the hell you think you're going to do here? You're not. The only thing that you can do is let go of all that pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, all that crap. Let go of all the negativity, the dramatic people, the negative people in your life. What you're doing is taking the trash of your life out. And until you do that, nothing is going to change. There is no easy button. You can't go to one of these electronic stores and get that easy button and go, click, my life is going to be wonderful now. Or let me burn some sage and some cedar. And no, that's not going to do it. You have to do the dirty inner work to get rid of all that mess first before you can even be able to understand what this true spiritual life is about. Because spirit themselves in that higher realm in heaven are as spiritual you can get. And people want to get there, but you're not going to get completely there while being in this physical body. You're not moving to a fifth and sixth dimension. You're this physical body here in this physical realm here, this particular physical realm, is not meant to be in another realm, is not meant to be in another dimension. Neither is your soul. I tell people all the time, don't bother doing the astral projection. If you don't know what the hell you're doing in this world, especially within spirituality, if you don't know how to actually astral project, you will end up astral detachment, which means your soul will leave your body, and then whoever is around you will find your dead body because you don't know what the hell you're doing. You can't get back in. When you are dreaming at nighttime, your soul rises up out of your body, but it is always attached to your body. Even those who have NDEs don't completely leave their bodies.
Right.
That's another myth too. They say, "Oh, I'm going back into my body." You've never left your body. You've come up out of your body enough that you are able to receive clear messages. That's why you receive such clear messages while you're having dreams or while you're doing meditation. Because you're in that lucid state, you're able to receive those things, but you're not completely leaving your body. If you did, your body will die because the life within your body is your soul. And without the soul, there is no life in that body. It's just a carcass. It's a vessel. That's all it is. There are so many misunderstandings and so many misrepresentations within spirituality. But unfortunately, that's brought to you by a lot of these masters and gurus out there. I mean, don't listen to a monk who's living on a mountain tell you how to live your life of a life he's never lived himself. Because he hasn't. He's never known what it is to pay car insurance and pay health insurance and live this life and have television and movies and all that stuff. He's never lived it. He never will live it. But you're going to sit there and listen to him tell you how to live your life? No. That's the same way with religion, you know. They want to tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it while giving them 10%. I mean, your tidings. No. You're going to give them money so they can have control over you and tell you that you're constantly a sinner? No. That's bullshit. That's just them telling you, imposing their rules and their ways upon you. And if you're not following those rules, that's why you're a sinner. Well, who says you have to follow those rules? They do. You don't. You need to learn to let that stupid shit go. And once you learn to let go of all this mess that you've learned how to have here, the pain and anger and the sorrow, grief, you learn how to have fear. You didn't wake up in this world with fear. Look at a 2-year-old child. Do they look like they have fear? You taught that child how to have fear. When that child was standing there in front of a stove and it touched it, it went ow and burned itself. It didn't go, oh, and run away. It went like this. Let me try it again. And then you went, no, don't do that. You just taught that child how to have fear. I mean, think of all the places you might have gone and the people you might have met in this life without having any fear. You might have asked somebody out and said, oh, well, I can't ask that out of another person. Or, man, they don't want to go out with me. Oh, the end, the world is over. No, it's not. Go out and find another one. There's 7.5 billion of us. You'll find another one. But we have been taught all these things to have. We're taught to have guilt over someone who has passed away. Well, my mom and dad are gone, and I'm glad they're gone because I saw them in their elder age and they were suffering. I'm glad they've been able to go home. I'm glad that they're no longer having to pay bills and having to suffer through all the anguish and pain and sorrow and grief and guilt we have in this world, all the physicality issues that we have in this world. I'm glad that they're gone. I do miss them, but I'm glad they don't have to go through this anymore. I know both of them actually get to stay home and not come back, but we all come back. I mean, we are all here between most people here. No one is a new soul. There's no new souls being made. They're all being refurbished, reincarnated. You come back over and over and over again. The average time is between 26 and 29 lifetimes, but that's not the most. I've done a reading for a lady who's been here 43 times because she was totally screwing it up. I mean, even at the end of the reading, she asked me, she said, Daniel, do I have time to fulfill my purpose? I said, no, you have run out of time. If I told you, Jess, that you ran out of time to fulfill your purpose, what would that mean to you?
It would be quite depressing.
Well, it was depressing for her because that was my nice way of telling her she was going to die soon. She did 6 months later. I told her, but she had to come back, and she knows that. She's been here 43 times. She has to come back another one. You keep coming back because you don't fulfill your purpose, and until you do, you'll keep coming back. Yeah,
so what stops us humans from being so blinded by, this is the objective, why would I want to keep repeating my lifetimes?
Because we don't know what the actual true objective is.
Right.
That's why, because we've been steered away from understanding what the actual true objective is. We have been taught the objective here is to have 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats. We've been told the objective here is to work 80 hours a week and maybe go on a vacation once in a while. We've been told the objective here is to get as much money as in your bank account as you can, because we value everything by money in this world. We value everything, and that value is placed on what are actually rocks and paper. You know, you've heard of it, gold, diamonds, and dollar bills. That's what the actual value is. But no, the true value in this world is us, because those things have no value until they're placed in our hands. $100 sitting on the ground actually has no value until you pick it up and put it in your hands. Then it does. Oh. So the true value in this world is us, and that's where we lost the objective in this world, understanding that we are the objective. And that we are here to work together. If we weren't meant to be here together, why was there 7.5 billion of us? If that wasn't meant to be, there would only be one, and there isn't. We have to learn to get that figured out. But we can't get that figured out when we have a society in this world telling us and having us believe that we should not have any trust in our faith in ourselves to do anything in this world, that we can't take care of ourselves, that everyone else in society is going to take care of us for us. But when have they ever truly done that? We help with providing things for ourselves, but those provisions come at a cost. What's the true cost? Yeah. Our insanity. That's the true cost, is our insanity, keeping us under their thumb. I mean, you can go to if you have depression, you can go to a doctor and he can give you some pills to suppress that, but suppress it. Or he's going to send you to another doctor who will talk you down from it. Why don't you learn that you can talk yourself down from it and you can learn to let it go? Because the only person who will let it go is you. Someone else may talk you out of it, but you can talk yourself down from it. But you have to have trust and faith within yourself to know that you can learn to let it go. Because your past is just your past. It is not a life sentence. But without those experiences that you had throughout your life, what would you learn from? How would you learn without having them? You
Mm.
have to have them.
Yeah. Yes. And for people out there, they come across this and they're an atheist, or they believe Jesus is the way of life, or Buddha is the way of life, or Allah, whatever it is they're following. How can you allow them to recognize that our true nature is spirituality and everything else is just this great big plan of division?
Well, yeah, because the world itself wants us to what's the word for it? They want us to segregate ourselves from ourselves all the
Mm.
time. I mean, black against white, white against yellow, yellow against red. Everything. It's always us against them. When are we going to figure out that we're all here together to do this at the same time? I mean, we're all people. We all bleed the same way. Like I said, we all get up in the morning the same way and put our pants on and have breakfast and do everything. We do everything the same way. But the division of us all becomes from the power and control and the greed, the ones who are in power. It started out with kings and queens, and now it's government, and now it's big corporation.
Mm.
And we see it all the time, but we choose not to recognize it in a way that, we only think that they are doing everything for us, but they're not. They're doing it, but it comes at a price. Everything is a price.
But
We
is
have
it
to wake up
always
and
a bad?
understand.
Yeah, is it always a bad thing that we want to put a price to something that one of our skills or values? Is it bad that we want to monetize something?
No, it's not a bad thing when it comes to monetizing it, but when it comes to the ability of putting someone in jeopardy or in danger of it, of course, yes,
Mm. Yeah.
yes. There are many cures for many things out there, but those things are not going to be ever brought out to us because there's no money in a cure,
Mm.
and that's where the problem is. We have greed.
Mm.
We have greed. We have power and control. That's the problem.
Yes.
But we allow it to happen as well. When are we going to figure out that we don't have to be starving? We don't. Not all of us have to be starving. Not everyone needs to be starving. When are we going to figure it out that no one should be starving? That no one should be cold in the winter or too hot in the summertime? When are we going to figure out that everyone can be healed and everyone can be taken care of, and we should allow ourselves for that to happen, for all of it to come out for the common good of all humanity, and not
Mm.
just the one who has it and the one who wants to share it, but only wants to share it if they get paid for it. How much is too much? How much is not enough?
Mm.
Why do we have to go by the price of everything? Why does everything have to have a price on it?
Yeah.
If you and I could, like, what is your favorite car that you would like to have?
Maybe like a Ferrari.
Okay, so you have a Ferrari, but what if I can have a Ferrari too? What if we could all have a Ferrari? And then we could all have all the cool doodads that go on a Ferrari to make our Ferrari look more special than others. But if we can all have them, then everybody's Ferrari would be the same thing.
Yeah.
What if we could all have the same thing? And we could have it at any time that we wanted it without having to pay for it. What if we could all have it? Then we would all realize that not only do we have the same things, but we are all the same thing.
Mm.
And then our wants and needs would change at that point. There would no longer be us having to prove anything to anyone else if we all knew we were all the same.
Yes.
And once knowing we were all the same, we'll all come onto the same playing field, that we're all here to take care of each other because we can, because we should.
Mm.
It's at that point, maybe we'll find out that we will. But we have to get there.
Yeah. I think the greatest question, Daniel, for most people is, what is God? Is it, some of us have this idea, it's this figure in the sky, a guy with long hair.
Father.
I grew up going to a religious-based school of the Judaism religion, but I just never buyed it. I never buy these, rabbis in hats praying, saying these words from a script. It just, none of it made sense
Sure.
to me. And I had a deeper sense of there has to be something more to life than
Well,
ideology.
they always want.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want you to. Their ideologies want you prayed to the one, and the one being of a being of power and control. having commandments over us to do certain things the way that He wants us to do it. But it is those people who are telling you that or want you to do the things the way they want you to do it, not what
Yeah.
God wants us to do. Now, God, during I've seen God 11 times. He has spoken to me 11 times. He's touched me 8 times. The very first time He spoke to me in this manner of when I was working with those that group of women, those professional mediums, I found out I could do something called channeling. I didn't know what it was. I got a message from my guides who told me to speak to one of the women and ask permission from her if it's okay to sit across from her, clear out her minds. I'd hold out my hands. She held my hands, and they just told me to just watch. So when I went to the meeting, I did that. And I said, hey, her name is Siobhan. I said, Siobhan, they want me to sit across from you, and if it's okay with you, and clear out our minds, and I'm supposed to hold out my hands, you're supposed to touch them, and I'm supposed to see what happens. And when I did that, one of the other women in the room said, hey, are you getting ready to channel? I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just doing what they tell me to do. So I'm just following along here. So they said, you're getting ready to channel. I said, okay. So we did that. And when I held out my hands, it looked like she got shock electricity, and an archangel came through. Now, on another occasion, another voice came through with another person that I did it with. I was instructed to do it with. And when I did that, this voice came through and said, hello, my son. And when that voice came through and said, hello, my son, you know who the fuck just walked in the room.
Mm.
Not only do you know it, you could feel it. Before anything, my skin felt like it was on fire, literally. But I was holding hands, and I was like, and then I looked around the room, and everybody was grabbing their skin. And then the voice came through again and said, don't worry, that'll go away soon. He knew what was taking place. And then I got all these goosebumps, and everybody was getting goosebumps, and their hair was sticking out straight. And then he said, Daniel, you have to learn to trust yourself. And I was like, yes, I do. And I said, who am I speaking to? And he said, it is I, your father, God. He said, but I don't like that word because you use that word too many times that have nothing to do with me. When he said that, I was like, whoa. But he said, you need to learn to trust yourself. He said, you're having too many problems with that. He said, you need to stop asking why. And I just said, oh, you heard that? He said, I hear everything. I'm your father. And I said, okay. He said, you need to shit or get off the pot. And when he said that, I was like, what did you say? And then he laughed. The voice laughed. And I said, you're laughing. He said, oh, Daniel, we love a good joke. And I was like, oh. And he said, I said, well, my mom says that saying. He said, where do you think she got it from? And I was like, oh. He said, yes, you need to trust yourself. And I said, yeah, I keep asking why. And he said, yeah, you ask why me? I said, yes, you hear that? He said, yes. I said, yes, why me? He said, because it just is. That's why. Now move forward or not. And I said, okay, I'll just do it. He said, oh, I know you will. Now, even at this point in time, I know now from having my ability and having it this long and the progression of it, everything that I thought has been my behavior, my actions, my feelings, has all been pre-thought out for me from the beginning of my soul being here. But that's just for me. That was for me in order to move forward, to become what I am now. But that, again, that's just for me. But for everyone else, I mean, they got to make up their own minds. But Father is the Father of all. He created everything. He made everything. He created this world, this galaxy, all other galaxies, everything. There's no Big Bang theory. That's, again, theory. That's what that's a very uneducated guess because they can't figure it out. But what we need to spend more time on is trying to figure ourselves out instead of trying to figure out who and what God is.
Mm.
Just know He is our Father, and He has everything in our best interest. But he gave us all free will to make our own choices. We have to learn to figure that out. There are too many people out in this world who are trying to figure out what God is, but they can't figure out their own fucking life. They can't. We need to get this done first. Figure out why we are here, what our purpose is, why we're actually here. And I tell people what that is all the time. The unfortunate part is, even though when I tell them what their purpose is, helping just for the sake of helping it, doing acts of kindness, even when I tell them that, they still can't figure it the fuck out. No matter how many times I tell it to them. Why? Whoop. Where'd you go? There you are. Why? Because they think it's going to be some grandiose story. They think it's got to be something more important. God made everything simple for us. It's people who make everything impossible. It's people who overthink. It's people who make everything confusing.
Yes.
Because we think it has to be something more.
But
We can't handle more.
Yes. But did God design us with this nature to be able to make us overcomplicated, or is it through
No,
our
he
free
mean,
will?
no, we complicate everything. No,
Yeah.
what he did is he gave us an ability to think,
Yeah.
to think for ourselves. But we can't. We can't do that at this day and age, even at this day and age, this time. Because from the beginning of the power and control coming in, we were told, even in the Bible, that we are the flock, a flock of sheep. And now we are being told we are of the herd mentality. We are cattle. We are the lowest of low. And we are being told that by the people, those people that we put in power to help us. How is them helping us by calling us the flock and calling us the herd mentality? How is that help? And we sit here and put up with it. We're never going to change until we change the way we do things, until we change the system, until we change the sense of power that is over us, until we take that power away and take our power back, to understand that we are more than we are being told we are meant for. Until we change that, nothing is going to change. And again, that's not going to change by us changing them, those who are in control of us. That's by us changing ourselves, knowing that we don't have to live under that power and control anymore. That's what Jesus was here to do. Jesus was spreading that word. Jesus did not die for our sins. Jesus died for being a free thinker, of telling everybody else out there that he could get a hold of, that we are all created equal. We all come from the same place. We all come from God, from a part of him that makes our soul a divine soul. Everyone is a divine soul, not just Jesus Christ. It is religion who turned that around so they can make him the one and God the one that we should listen to, because they call Jesus the king, but he is not a king. Jesus was a pauper just like the rest of us, telling everyone that we can all take care of each other. We can share everything in the world because there's enough of everything in the world to share. We don't have to live under power and control. We can all take care of each other and look out for each other. But it was the people who were in power and control, kings and queens, and religion, who did not want Jesus on the streets. They don't tell you that part. They didn't want him on the streets. They took him off the streets. They put him on the cross, and they tortured and murdered him in front of everybody to make an example out of him, to tell everybody that if you do what he's doing and follow what he's saying, that's what we're doing to him. We'll do it to you. That's why they want you to wear a cross around your neck, not to remind you of what Jesus did for you, but to remind you of how much power and control they have over you. That if you do what he's doing, we're going to do this to you too. I always tell people, why would you want to wear a cross around your neck? The cross is a form of punishment. Why would you want that around your neck? They don't get it. Until we wake up and understand that this is what's actually taking place, we'll never get it. But it has to start somewhere. And it has to start within the spiritual community.
Yes.
But even getting us together in the spiritual community is difficult because there are scammers, there are takers of people. Scamming you into thinking, here, buy a bunch of sage and this will make all the negative energies go away. I mean, if sage would actually work, then how come all the forest fires in all the world hasn't made all the negative energies go away? Because it doesn't. It's that simple. The only thing you're doing when you're burning that stuff is if it makes you feel good. But other than that, all it's doing is setting off your fire alarms. That's all it's doing. I mean, really. It's not going to make all these negative energies go away. You can burn it all you want. These negative energies are just laughing at you because they know it doesn't affect them. I mean, if it affected them, then how come all the people who are smoking in this world haven't given all the spirits in the world secondhand cancer?
Yeah.
Because if sage is going to affect them, why isn't smoking cigarettes affecting them? Because none of it does. Again, we have that false idea, these false things in our world, in our spiritual community, that if you have a bunch of sacred geometry tattoos, well, putting ink into your body is a block. That just is. Or using crystals. Well, you stand on a world that's completely full of crystals. Or if you burn some sage and some cedar, that's going to change everything for you. Everyone wants something done for them easily. But when have our lives ever been easy? It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to struggle through this life. But if you work towards it, if you are proactive in your life, you can make change. And that's the only way change ever happens. Mm-hmm. You can't sit around with your thumb up your ass all day long thinking everything's going to be changed for you. And there are, unfortunately, people in this world who think that's what's going to take place. They think they have a guardian angel. And I have to enlighten them about that all the time. And they get upset when I do that. The reason they get upset is because they don't like the truth. They only want the only kind of truth they want is the pretty kind. And that's not what truth is. Truth is sometimes hard. But it's hard because you don't want to face it. Until you learn to face it, nothing is going to change. But we get taught fairy tales. We get taught all these stories, like everything that's in the Bible. I mean, again, how can somebody live in the belly of a whale? Come on, really? I mean, it never happens. So why did it all happen back then, but none of it happens now?
Yes.
It doesn't, because it never happened. It's all stories and fables. That's why. And then they've been taught that it is the Word. It is the Word of God. All the teachings of Jesus Christ. How do you know they're teachings of Jesus Christ? Because back then they didn't have paper. I mean, if you had paper, you were very well off. And Jesus didn't have paper. He didn't write anything down. They didn't know how to read and write.
Yes.
So how would they know how to write everything down, these teachings of Jesus Christ? He wasn't a stone carver. So unless you were stone carving or you're writing on paper that you didn't have, where did it all come from? It came from the elites of the world. They had elites back then too. The ones who were in power and control. And they created everything and all these writings for everything to have control over them. Until we wake up and understand that, until we actually take a look at it and know that it's all about that, we're not going to move forward. And we need to.
Yes. Would you say that the people around the world, the elites, understand of their own spiritual nature and they use it to, I guess,
absolutely,
rise above other people?
Yes, they do. I mean, that's why even in the American government, no one ever gets in trouble for anything.
Yes.
They say, we're going to impeach this president. We're going to impeach this president. There are scapegoats, of course, to give us a little bit of, oh, well, that one's going to jail. I can't wait till the next one goes to jail. Well, the next one never does go to jail. They don't. They're never going to, because they're all in it together, all in cahoots with each other. They may be standing in front of the camera looking at each other going, I hate you, and I hate you because you're on the red side, and they hate you because you're on the blue side. But behind the camera, they're all patting each other on the back saying, we did it again. We still have control. We still have power. I mean, even in the other side of it, with the other supernatural things going on, with like what they talk about with UFOs, a government is never really going to come out and say that there are really UFOs. They're never going. Even the whistleblowers that you have out today aren't really real whistleblowers, because real whistleblowers would just say, "Oh, let me tell you about this." They don't do that. They say, "Well, I'm not allowed to talk about that. We have to go into a skiff and do that." Well, why, who says you're not allowed to do it? If you're actually a whistleblower, you don't have to say, "I'm not allowed to do anything." You just do it for the good of all mankind, of all humanity. When they say, I'm not allowed to speak about that, then that means they're still under power and control. They're not really a whistleblower, and people can't even see through that. But they're not going to tell us that there are things flying around the sky that they don't have control over. Because if they tell that to us, then that means they don't have control over us either. So that won't come out.
Yes.
But people are so mystified by it. They're going to tell us something new. They never really tell you anything new. They tell you some things, but they're not going to really truly give you everything, because that would take their control and their power away from them. And they have too much greed in order for that to happen.
Yeah, no,
we need to stop looking towards our government to provide us everything in this world and start looking at each other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, looking within ourselves. That's what the knowledge is.
But no, we don't need all these 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats. We don't need that. But the world wants to push us on this so that we will continuously put the money throughout the world and work for it.
Yes. I was curious, you brought up UFOs. Do you believe that there are other species out there, and are they different versions of humans? Do they have souls?
What do you think archangels are?
They're on a different dimensional plane, which you can't access through your senses.
When I see archangels around me, I see 8-foot praying mantises standing around me. Some of them are human, but not many. I see others that look like other things from this world, but most things I can't describe to people because they're not of this world. And they have been here for longer than we understand we've been here. But yeah, they are beings of a higher consciousness that just no longer need a body. They just know everything. But in the very beginning, when I used to, when they would touch me on my face and tell me things, because they don't just touch me on my face, they put information in my mind at the same time while they're touching me. And in the beginning, it would happen like 5% of my day. Now it happens 98% of my day. So it's always happening. It's always going on. But there's always a progression of it at the same time. But when it's happening, when it was happening in the beginning, I would say to them, "Is this what God wants for me? Is this what God wants for me?" And they would just tell me, "If we tell you, this is what God wants." And I said, "How does that happen?" They said, "God tells us, we tell you." Oh, okay. And then from that point, I just said, okay, accepted it, and moved on.
Yeah.
And all the information I do get and I do provide to people helps them. Why would that be bad then?
Yeah.
It's not bad. But we have to learn to accept it instead of just going, why? If it's helping you, then why do you have to know every little tiny detail of everything? You don't. Just move forward with it. But people are curious, and people are, inquiring minds want to know. Well, sometimes they want to know a little bit too much past the helping part because they don't get it. They don't understand it. And I get it. It's not always easy to understand. But if it is helping you and helping you to move forward past all the bullshit that you've already experienced in your life and helping you get to where you need to be, then what's the problem? It's when we have all that. It is time to start questioning those who do things for nefarious reasons. I mean, again, when you see your government saying we're spending billions of dollars and we're sending it over to a place, but we ourselves are starving, that's when you should start questioning things. But when it's for the good of everyone of all the time, when they provide me answers and it helps everyone in a manner to get them where they need to be and what they should be doing and how they can be doing things, then, there are some things you should be questioning, but other things, when it's helping you all the time, then I don't see a problem with that. Anyone shouldn't see a problem with that. It's the problems that we occur by those who are trying to get us for everything that we're worth. That's when I see a problem with. That's what we should be asking questions about.
Yes.
When I'm riding down the street on my motorcycle, as we were talking about before, I'm riding down the street on my motorcycle. I see my guides with me. I see these sparkly little lights around me. And I will say to them, I got to make a right-hand turn here. No. Oh, you don't want to make this right-hand turn? No. Well, I got to make a right-hand turn to go where I'm going. Should I go down the next 2 streets down there and then make that right-hand turn? Yes. I just do it. And then everything works out. What was going to happen at the other one? I don't give a shit because I know they're always looking out for my best interest. It's proven to be always in my best interest. But the time before that, before I was able to get these answers, when I just did what I wanted to do instead of what I needed to do or what I should do, things didn't always go well for me. Now that I've learned that they will always be there to provide me answers to go what's in my best interest, I follow everything they tell me to do because it always works out. They have told me 8 years ago, if I would learn to listen, trust, and follow through with everything they told me to do, I would never get into another car accident again, and I haven't. So when I say I'm going to go for a ride on my motorcycle today, I don't ask them, can I go for a ride? Because of course I can. I can use my free will to do whatever I want. I always ask them, should I go? And if I should not go, then I don't go. If I tell them, should I go and ride my bike today? Yes, I go. If I say, should I go and ride my bike today? And they say no, that's it. I don't go because something's going to happen if I do go. And it's been proven to me very early on in my life of the things that I can do, I do, it doesn't go well. But it's also been proven to me now, if I should not go, I don't. I'll see it later on. Someone will tell me, like my friends and I went for a motorcycle ride. We went to a place in Arizona here called Tombstone, where they had the big movie and all that stuff, but they really didn't have it in town. They had it somewhere else. But anyway, so we go on the ride, and we're there, hanging out, having a good time. My other friend said, we're going to leave now. We're going to go this certain way. And I said to my guides, should I go with them? No. Okay, I won't. I said, guys, I'm going to hang out here in town for a while. I'm going to go home later. Okay, good. We'll see you later. My friends leave. They went down the road. The one guy that I ride with all the time, who I stay with all the time, he went around a turn and missed that turn and got into an accident. I would have been right there with him had I gone. I would have ran into him because the way they described everything to me, I was like, holy shit. Had I gone because I said, oh, yeah, I'll just go with you and not listen to what my guide said, I know that's what would have happened. I would have been in that accident as well. My guides did not want that for me, so they prevented me from going. But the only reason they prevented me from going is because I agreed not to go.
Yes.
So if they tell me not to do something, I don't do it. If we would learn to listen, trust, and follow through with what our spiritual guides and what our intuition is telling us to do more often, we would have a lot less of these horrible things happen to us and a lot better things come into our life. But it's about learning to listen, trust, and follow through. It's about letting everything else go and just trusting what our soul is trying to do. Because your soul has been here so many times and has had so many experiences throughout each and every one of its human lives, it knows what is best for us. And until we get to that point of learning to trust that instead of trusting everything else that's going on in this world, it just isn't going to go well. And that's just a proven fact. I mean, it's just look around.
Yeah. People
who say that, they say this all the time. You know what? I fell down the steps yesterday, and the person's like, "Oh, are you okay?" And they said, "Yeah." You know what? I was at the top of the steps, and I just knew I shouldn't walk down. They say that I just knew. Well, they just knew because their soul was telling them, "Don't walk down the steps now." But they disregarded it, and then they fell. I was walking through the mall recently, and I was walked past some people, and I heard a guy say that to his wife. He said, "You know, I just knew." And then I fell down, and I was like, "Oh, man." And I immediately turned around. I said, do you know what that means when you say you just knew? And he was like, huh? I said, do you know what that means when you say you just knew? He said, what? I said, that's your soul talking to you. He goes, yeah, I kind of feel that. I said, yeah, why didn't you listen to it? He goes, I don't know. I said, next time you'll listen to it because apparently you hurt your leg doing it. He said, yeah.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, I will. And then I started going into everything about what that means and all this stuff. But in the middle, I said, oh, by the way, my name is Daniel Jackson, Spirit Medium Daniel. You can look me up on Google. You'll find me. Ask AI about me. Ask AI about Spirit Medium Daniel Jackson. Put my last name in there. And then, so I went on and on about this stuff. And I said, but I got to go. I'm going to walk around the mall. I got to do my exercise. But you can look me up if you want to. So I did my route and I came back around. And they said, hey, sir. I said, yeah. They said, Daniel. I said, yeah. They said, yeah, we looked you up. We looked you up on AI. We asked AI about Spirit Medium Daniel Jackson. It told us everything we need to know. It said you wrote a book and you have a show and you talk about spirituality and you talk to archangels and do all. I said, yep, that's me. I said, so what do you think? They said, oh, we get it. You are who you say you are. I said, yeah, I am. Let me help you. And they said, would you? I said, yeah. And they said, it said you're a medium. You do this for a living. You do readings and stuff like that. I said, yes, I do. And they said, how much can we pay you? I said, well, give me your attention. That's enough. And they said, really? I said, yeah. And then I ended up talking to them for an hour. I mean, yes, I do charge people when I do readings and stuff like that. They're going to sit down and do an actual reading with me because it does take time out of my day because you're not paying for the reading. You're paying for the time for me to give you the reading. But if I'm right there at the moment, and if I can help somebody, if anyone is there right at the moment, and they can help somebody do something that they can't do for themselves or help them to figure it out, then why not?
Yeah.
Why not just do it? Why not just do it for the reason of just because? Why not do it as an act of kindness to help others? I mean, all it does is take some time. We have plenty of that. I mean, look how much time we waste doing other mindless things in this world. If we just added all that time up together and took it to use to help other people in this world or all of God's creation in this world, just think of this place and how it would actually be if we took the time and made the effort to do it. And not just me, everybody.
Yeah.
We have to think about that. We
Yeah.
have to think about that hard in a good way.
Yeah. And I do
Maybe
believe,
we'd be better off.
yeah, I do believe, optimistically speaking, that there is a shift in people that are awakening more to their spirituality, and something is
Correct.
happening behind the scenes than ever before, I
Correct.
believe.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Eventually, it'll stop happening behind the scenes. It'll be out in front of everybody.
Yeah, and it has to be, because that's when the world changes. That's when we come together.
Right. We come together as a people, as a race of people, as humans, for all humanity.
Yeah.
Not mankind anymore. All humanity.
Mm.
When we understand that we're not everyone is black and white and yellow and green and purple, whatever you are. If I cut my arm and you cut your arm, we all bleed the same way. We all have red blood that comes out, and we are all humans in this world, no matter, the race, creed, or color, or the so-called different genders in this world. Because when I see spirit, especially when I see human spirit, there's only men and women. That's it. There are no different kinds of other genders out there in the world. They're just. But I also know through what archangels and God tell me, especially in this world with people changing their genders, you are who you are when you wake up in this world. And if you choose to change parts because you want to have your own individuality, I don't make the rules. I just explain them, but you're coming back because you're trying to change something by your own egotistical ways of something you are just not meant to be. You come into the world as you are, whether you have a disability or not, what we call a disability. You come into this world as you are, and you are meant to be challenged in that way to get through it the best possible way that you can. But if you're going to try to change things and change your parts and to be something else that you think you are, I mean, I can understand the thinking process of that because again, we come here between the average of 26 and 29 times. And if you came here the last 3 or 4 times as a woman, and then you wake up in this man's body, well, of course you're going to have feelings in that different way.
Yes.
It's just understandable. But that's because you're not going to learn lessons in just one body. You have to come back different bodies all the time, because how are you going to learn lessons of the entire human existence just by only being one type of existence? That's not going to happen. I mean, you aren't, but you're not going to come back as an eagle or as a bear the next time, because bears come back as bears and eagles come back as eagles. You'll always come back as a human if you are a human in this world, but you're not going to have all the entire experiences or learn all the lessons that you need to learn by coming into this world as just one existence of a man or a woman. You're going to come back as multiple, because everybody has a bit of everything. I don't care who says they don't, but all men and women have a little bit of masculinity and femininity within themselves. And until you recognize that, again, that's just going to be another hurdle that you're going to have in your life.
Yeah.
But we are here to learn lessons, and you have to figure out how that's going to work for you. And what works for you doesn't always work for me, and what works for me isn't going to work for you. So that's why you have the free will to make your own choices, as well as I have mine too. But I'm not going to be punished for it.
Yeah.
Just it depends upon whether, if you're not helping in the way that we're meant to help, again, you'll just come back until you do it again. And if you have to do it again and over and over and over again until you get it finished. Because no one actually goes home to what we would think of as regular heaven. You leave here and you go to a holding place. It's not purgatory, just another place that you're going within heaven to find out if you have completed your purpose. They'll go over your life and tell you what you did and did not do. And if they talk more about what you didn't do, then they'll just let you know you have to come back again. But you at that point are probably going to be excited about it, because once you leave here and go there, you'll let go of all your pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and you become a beautiful, bright, white, loving soul again who likes to do good things. And if they tell you, well, you didn't get it right this time. Okay, well, I'll go back and do it again. No problem. Yep, well, you got to go back. Okay, do I have a choice? No. You just have to go. Why don't I have a choice? Well, because God wants you to learn. That's why. That's why. And then eventually when you get it right, you'll get to come home and stay home. Okay, sounds like a deal. But they can't understand that here. They just think they're being punished over and over again. Well, God doesn't punish us. We punish ourselves by the choices that we make. That's all.
Yeah.
Make better choices.
Yeah.
I do a live show. I do a live show on TikTok because I can promote myself there. People always, Daniel, am I going to have, is 2026 going to be a good year for me? Well, it is if you make good choices. If you don't make good choices, no.
So what do you believe
can't
about
seem to figure that out.
numerology and astrology saying
Bullshit.
predictions? Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah, people created numbers. And just did. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They created numbers. They created numbers to count things, to add things up, to subtract things. They created all that. They created astrology. Here's what astrology is. A bunch of people standing around looking up at the stars saying, if I play connect the dots, it makes a fish. No, it doesn't. I mean, you're just putting certain stars together to make a fish. No. You think that fish is the same fish on every planet, on every world, and every star and every galaxy? You think that's the same fish? You think they see the same fish? Because their planet and their star and their galaxy is faced in an opposite direction. You think that's really taking place? The thing about the astrology is people put faith in astrology because they can't make their own decisions for themselves. So they want to look up at the stars and have that make the decision for them. No, you're just ignorant. That's all.
Yeah.
You're just lazy. Because most people are spiritually lazy or just spiritually gullible. Because they think everything they see on television and movies is real. They think if they look up in the stars, and I mean, you really want to think the stars are going to make all the decisions for you? Have you ever been to those stars? Because your body hasn't. And your body is born. Your soul was created. Your soul has nothing to do with physical items other than being in the physical world, being in the physical body. When it's not in the physical body, it has nothing to do with the moons and the stars in the sky. So why do you think you do? In the same way with those chakras. Your soul doesn't have that heart chakra. It doesn't. It doesn't have chakras. It doesn't smell. It doesn't eat. It doesn't breathe. There is no heart chakra or, anything other chakra. It doesn't move along for that. It moves along to do one thing: knowledge and learning.
Mm.
But we want to put faith in everything else instead of ourselves, because we can't learn to trust and have trust and faith within ourselves to do anything. We want to put it somewhere else to do it for us, and we do that by being lazy. That's why we do it. We don't want to take the time or make the effort to get in touch with our own souls, to get in touch with ourselves, to figure things out. We want to outsource everything. And we do that with chakras. We do that with astrology. We do that with numerology. We do it with everything. If we would actually take the time and make the effort to clear ourselves out, to not have these distractions in our lives, to not have this pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, hate, greed, ego, selfishness. If we would take the time and make the effort to release ourselves of all that, we would realize we are much more than we've been told we are. But we're just not willing to do that. We want an easy button. We want everything that's going to do it for us, but actually doesn't do it at all. Mm. It's just a masquerade. Mm. We're just playing the game that we've been taught.
Yeah.
Well, we have to learn to unteach ourselves from that. Stop playing the game and realize that we are more than we have been told we are. Because we're being told by people who want that to be suppressed. Until we wake up to that, nothing is going to change.
Yeah.
But it is hopefully people like yourself and myself and others who are trying to change that, to let everybody know that we are more than what we've been told we are, to what we should believe that we are. Yeah. I mean, they create numbers so they can make us all become a number. We are a number one, because all is one and one is all. We're all connected to each other. We have to wake up to that idea and realize it, to know it.
Yeah.
It's more than an idea. It is the truth. And not
I'd
just the pretty kind.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love for you is there a possibility of you could read something personally about me, or to apply any of your abilities in this moment to...
What do you want me to look at? Let's see. Let me ask real quickly. How many times has he been here? That many? That high? Really? So you've been here 29 times. You're on life number 29. You've had 28 other sets of moms and dads, brothers and sisters, dogs and cats, and 28 other astrological signs that mean absolutely horseshit. Because they do. Because again, your body is born, your soul is created. It has nothing to do with the stars and the moon and the sky. As well as Mercury rising has nothing to do with you. Since you've been here 29 times, how many times is that? That many. 13 times you've been a woman. The other times you've been a man. You're from all over the entire world. You're not just from Australia. You're from everywhere. What's that make you? Human. That's what it makes you. People want to know about previous lifetimes. You learn things from previous lifetimes. I did a reading for a woman who's been here. She asked one time, because there's a difference of when you do come here. If you die under the age of 30 years old, you would come back 8 years later, a minimum of 8 years. If you die over the age of 30 years old, you would come back a minimum of 80 years for one reason. So you're not recognized. That's it. So you can continue to go on through this world, learning your lessons and fulfilling your purpose. I did a reading for a woman one time. She had been here, and she asked if she ever died under the age of 30. And I said, yes. Well, I said, 3 lifetimes ago, you had you had passed away because you were in a boat, you fell out of the boat, you drowned, and that's how you passed away. And she said, "You are kidding me." I said, "No, I'm not kidding you." And I said, "Why? You got affinity for water?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "Every time that I go swimming, I have to make sure that my feet are planted on the ground, because if I don't, I feel like I'm going to drown." I said, "Lesson learned." That's what we get from certain things. But the way that it works for me, if you want an answer for something, ask me a question. I'll get you the answer.
Yeah.
What do you want to know?
Guess.
I mean, you got a medium sitting right here. I mean, so some people, I don't communicate with your loved ones who have passed away. What I do is I communicate with guides, my archangels, to provide you peace of mind and clarity, but also giving you direction in your life by answering all your unanswered questions. So if you have a question, ask me now.
I guess what is my purpose as an individual?
Purpose is everything that I told you. We're here to help each other just for the sake of helping, not because you can. See, I said it a bunch of times earlier, and you still were like, "What's my purpose?"
Yeah, I guess
they don't get it. They don't listen to it enough to understand it, that our purpose is to help each other. So again, if you were that guy and I was that guy at the bank, and I saw you coming in, you were having a hard time, my purpose would be to help you get into the bank without having such a hard time. Your purpose would be to be able to accept that help or ask for it so that we could help each other. And then maybe at that point, because I helped you get into the bank without struggling, the next time you were somewhere, you did the same for someone else. And taking time and making the effort to actually do it, recognizing that you see someone who is struggling and maybe go over and help them, so they're no longer struggling. And from that point on, maybe teaching them something that they can go out and do as well. That's what our purpose is.
And if I've been here 29 times, that means I'm repeating my lesson over and over again?
No, until you fulfill your purpose, that's when you'll come back again. Now, learning your lessons, everything you do in your life is going to be a lesson. If I pick up this towel and I put it down, that's a lesson. If I pick it up and I drop it, well, how do I learn that lesson? Next time I pick it up, I'll grip it a little bit tighter. But not everybody learns lessons that quickly. We do these types of things all over and over again. If you walk through a doorway and there's a nail in the floor and you trip over the nail, hopefully you'll go get a hammer, you'll bang that nail back in, and then you'll walk freely through the rest of that door for the rest of your life. Or maybe you won't. Maybe you'll trip over it 4 or 5 more times to figure out, shit, I just broke my hand because I tripped over that nail, even though I knew that nail had been sticking out for the last 4 times I tripped over it. Maybe I'll just go bang it in. And sometimes it takes people a little bit longer to learn those lessons. But sometimes it doesn't. I worked around those people for 6 years. I worked in prison for 6 years. Those people have not figured out that they're not good criminals. Why? Because they keep ending up in prison all the time. If they would stop doing the acts that they are doing to cause them to be in prison, they wouldn't be in there anymore. It's just that it's that simple. It really is that simple, but people can't seem to figure that out. So for you, being here on your 29th lifetime, the culmination of you learning your lessons and fulfilling your purpose has built up throughout the lifetimes. But again, whatever you did in the last lifetime, if this lifetime has been hard, it's been because the last time you were here and all the previous times you were here, you weren't getting it right, so you had to come back and do it again. And each time that you come back, it's going to become harder because he wants you to get it figured out. He wants you to learn from it. And then once you do learn from that, but everything in your life is always going to be lessons. There's always going to be lessons to learn. There's always going to be times that maybe if I drop this glass, maybe the next time I'll grip it a little bit tighter. Maybe the next time, if you drop a cup of coffee, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world. I mean, that's not. It means just go clean it up and go get another one. That's all it means. But next time, if I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to make sure I'm holding on to it a little bit tighter so I don't drop it. But fulfilling your purpose is a choice whether you're going to choose to do it or not. And that's why we keep coming back Because if we continue to choose not to do it, then you're just going to keep coming back until you choose to figure out that you can do it and you should do it.
I guess when why I asked that is, you speak to somebody who's very logically minded. They're like, "You're telling me to be a good person, but what job am I going to do? What do I have to do when it comes to like the fulfillment of the practicality of the world?" Like you're saying,
Well, the only reason we have that practicality is because we enable ourselves to have that practicality. The only reason we get into car accidents is because we invented cars.
yes,
We wouldn't have those types of things happen in our lives without inventing that practicality.
yeah,
We are the inventors of. We invent these problems for ourselves. And then we want to blame it on something else. It's going to be something else's fault or someone else's fault. Well, no, you blamed it. You blame yourself because you chose to walk into and get in that car that day. But maybe when your soul told you not to do that, don't do it. What type of job do you do? What is your job? I'm not psychic.
Actually, coach,
Truth.
spiritual coaching guidance.
Okay. Should he be doing
Yeah.
that? Yeah. Yeah. When did you start? When did you decide to do it? And why did you decide that you are eligible to do, not only eligible but experienced enough to do it?
I think it was a matter of knowing that this journey was, I have to fulfill my path of being selfless and altruistic, giving back to people, and through the source of coaching, which I studied life coaching.
And why do you feel you have to do it? Where does that feeling of having to do it come from?
My soul's just calling me.
Right.
There's nothing else I could do but help people.
Right. So you feel that driving force within you like you've never felt anything else before.
Yeah, it's like I couldn't live a life other than doing this.
Right. Because you've listened to your soul in that way.
Yes.
Why can't you listen to your soul with everything else?
I think it's a matter of sometimes the ego taking part and trying to control.
Right. Well, how can you be a spiritual coach and still have ego?
It's true. It's a long journey of constantly.
Sorry to point that out, but I mean, you can't. You can't have ego. Because in order to tell people how to live the life that you're telling them to live, you have to live it yourself. And if you're going to tell them to live it without ego, you can't have ego yourself. You can't be 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Otherwise, you're just pretending. And pretending doesn't do them or yourself any good. Everything that I tell everyone to do when I do readings for them, I have to do the same thing for myself. That's why I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't have tattoos. I don't have pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt. When someone gets angry at me, I don't lash out at them or be triggered. I don't. I choose not to be angry by someone else's anger. So everything I'm telling them to do or to be in this lifetime, I have to be as well. And I do. That's how I've learned, in order to get clear answers, you must be clear. By hearing that from my guides telling me I can't do this and I can't do that. Because if I want clear answers, that's the only way I'm going to get them. So I don't coach anybody into anything that I'm not willing to do myself or are not already doing myself. And that's where the line of spirituality and being spiritual are two different things. In order to be completely spiritual, you have to be able to do everything you're telling them to be and to do. And if you can't, then stop. Don't start doing it until you're able to do it as well. You have to learn to let that shit go. That's my 3 favorite words in this world. Let it go. Again, your past is just a past. It's not a life sentence.
Yes.
Until you can learn to let that all go and let go of all that pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and all that other stuff you're telling people to do, if you're not doing it yourself, then what are you actually doing? Nothing. That's how we bring guidance into this world. Because that's how we do it all together at the same time. So let go of that ego next time you talk to somebody.
Yeah. Definitely take it into account.
Just saying. Just saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've met
What else would you like to know from the medium? You are in the correct field. You are. I'm not saying that you aren't, and I'm not saying you should stop, because you shouldn't. But you are in the correct field. But this is what you're meant to do. If you do anything else other than this, you're just cutting yourself short. If you do anything else other than what you're doing now, you're nailing your own foot to the floor, and you're going to be walking in circles the rest of your fucking life.
Yeah.
So don't ever give it up. But just live the path that you're telling everyone else to.
Right. Yeah.
I know there's other people out there who will say, some people will say, oh, to get the consciousness, again, you have to turn on your pineal gland or all that stuff. Again, you're not doing that. There's people out there who say, if you do magic mushrooms, you're going to get to consciousness. No, the only thing you're doing there is getting yourself high. I mean, a long time ago, these scientists were using LSD, what they called them, these hallucinogenic drugs. Well, that's all you're doing. You're hallucinating. Because the brain is not where consciousness, your brain is not consciousness. Consciousness lies within your brain, because the consciousness that is in your brain is the power of your soul. The electricity that makes those electrical pulses within your mind, that electricity is coming from the soul, the power of the soul, the energy. And without that energy, there is no consciousness. The consciousness is the soul. The soul is everything. The everything is the soul. There are people out there who will say they can take a past life trauma away from you. No, they can't. Because your soul is there to learn the experience of it. It doesn't actually feel the pain of the trauma. It just experiences it. It learns from it. And it brings it into the next life, if it has to come into a life another time. If you take that away, what would you learn from?
Yeah.
So they're not actually doing it. Again, that's where it comes into the scammers and the liars within spirituality, saying they can do all these things for you. They're putting you under hypnosis and stuff like that, and they're just allowing you to not believe in it anymore within this lifetime. But it's still always going to be there. If you had trauma, if you got into a car accident, or if you got raped or mugged or something like that, that's never going to go away. But it will teach you. So you're taking the teaching of it, okay, I got raped at this street here, and it happened 3 or 4 times. Well, next time I won't walk on that street anymore. Next time I'll be more aware of my surroundings, of what's going to happen to me throughout when I'm walking home from this certain place. Maybe I shouldn't walk from there anymore. Maybe I should take a taxi cab or drive a car. Maybe the next time I'll do that. But if they take all those experiences away, again, how would you learn? You wouldn't. So they're not doing it.
Yeah.
You got to watch out for that stuff. But yeah.
No, so fascinating. I think I've covered most of what I want to cover today. It's a plethora of information. I have to.
Well, then I feel sorry for you in a sense, because then you're going to have to edit this entire thing.
No, I would love to definitely have a catch up one day again and definitely go through it. There's so much things to discuss. It's almost infinite.
Do you know why it's almost infinite?
Because we are infinite.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. If we would get in touch with our soul, we would realize that. Here's a big one for you. Akashic records.
Yeah.
Is there Akashic records? Yes. But why do we feel we have to go into the galaxy and find this Akashic record library somewhere in the galaxy somewhere? Again, why can't we just take the time and make the effort to get in touch with our own soul? Because your soul, all that Akashic records has every instance and every experience that you've ever had in your lifetime in that records. but it's in your soul as well. Why outsource? Why not just reach into yourself and release yourself of all that negativity and all those blocks from yourself and be able to go in and get that information. Get the information that's going to help you. You know, not just the past life regression bullshit that everybody wants to do because they want to go get the bullet points to find out if they were fucking famous in life, you know. You know how many people I've come across that I've done reading for, they all think they're fucking Cleopatra. They're not, okay? But they all want to get a story so they can tell their friends how they were related to a king or a queen. But why do you want to be related to someone who stood on the backs of other people, of raping and murdering and killing them and taking all their money? Do you think that's fucking noble? Because I don't find it very noble. I don't see it being as noble. But people do that because they want to tell a story to somebody else. You get things from your previous lifetimes. You just don't realize it. You ever have an instinct to do something? What do you think that is? That's an experience that you had from your previous lifetime. That's where you learned it from. It's coming from your soul. You just know you shouldn't do this. Well, that knowing is coming from your soul. But being able to get in touch with that knowing prior to doing anything, you would know not to do it. And it would just come to you like that. Yeah. But in order to be able to enable everything to come to you like that, you got to remove the blocks in order to do that. And until we decide what we're going to do that, it's not going to happen. Or it'll only happen every once in a while. But if you learn to listen, trust, and follow through with what your spiritual guides and your soul are telling you all the time, you wouldn't have any problems in your life. None of us would. And we would all realize that we're all doing this together. For the good of all, not just the one.
Yeah. Amen to that. It's
there's some religion right there.
Yeah.
Because you just said amen.
I know. That's okay. No, I'm
yeah, well, amen. All amen means and so it is. That's what that means. And so it is.
Yeah.
And why do they say that? Why do they say that? Because they're telling you what to do and then tell you, and so it is. Meaning you'll do it. No, you don't have to. I never say amen. Why should I? Because if I tell you something, you're going to choose to do it or not.
Yeah.
Everybody who says they live by the Bible, they don't live by the Bible. There's too much crap in the Bible that you don't actually live by. You only live by the bullet points. Well, have you ever known your life to be only based upon bullet points? How many times have you ever cut your hair, Jess? How many times have you ever trimmed your nails? How many times have you gone to the bathroom and sat down and taken a crap or taken a pee? How come nobody ever asks those things about their previous lifetimes? They only ask about the bullet points because they only want the bullet points. But you know your life isn't just made up of bullet points.
Yes.
Your life is made up of many instances, many facets in your life. We have to wake up to all of that, knowing that life is more than just bullet points. We are not just meant to be bullet points. But they want us to believe that we are. Working, going out and putting into the system, making money, having the things we think are going to fill up our lives. They don't. True happiness is found from within. All the answers that you need are found from within. But you have to take the time and make the effort to get in from within, to find it. And until you're willing to do that, then everyone's just living a lie or living a understanding that they are spiritual. I took the time and I made the effort to become what I meant to be. But I had to do that. I mean, working with archangels is not easy. I mean, after that conversation with God and him saying I was going to be working with archangels, there's a process no one wants to go through. I've been through it. Working with them was me sleeping in my bed at nighttime, laying there, and I see these arms and tentacles come down and touching my skin, and I feel cold little touches all over my body. And then I'd wake up 3 or 4 hours later, throwing up and shitting everywhere. And that happened twice a month, like getting the flu twice a month. That went on for 3 years. Do you know anybody who would want to go through that?
No.
Right. They don't want to go through the process of getting rid of all their pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, and all that stuff that you have to get rid of. Unless, if you meet anybody else who comes on your show and says they work with archangels, if they don't tell you that fucking story that I told you about, with God coming through and my skin on fire, and they don't tell you about the, working with them and the process of, again, having to work on the soul, because they're working on your soul and then purging your body. If they don't tell you that process, they're not fucking doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, in this podcast business, you're going to find that. You're going to find a lot of these fakes and crap coming up, like we talked about with the channelers. You're going to find a lot of that crap. And you're going to have to be able to pick that out. No one I know. I've done 26 readings of people who had abilities similar to mine to be able to work with archangels. And you know how many of them actually went through with it? None of them. Because they don't want to do it. Because it's hard. It's not meant to be easy. But you have, like anything in this world, there's a process to it. And if they're not willing to do the process, then it's not going to happen. Things only happen if you're willing, if you're wantingness and willingness to go through what you need to go through in order to get to the end result, which is getting all the answers. And yeah, I get all the answers that I need, and I help people all the time. But no one wants to see all the shit that I see in the low energy realm. No one wants to see all that. No one wants to go through that process of being touched and being able to receive that energy and work with that energy. They don't want to do it. So when you do come across those people on your show, and you will, you ask them, I just want you to ask them, without telling them what the process I told you, just ask them, so what's the process of that? What's the process of working with archangels? So they just say, oh, I just call out to them and a beautiful white light love being comes down. They're shining purple and all this stuff. They're fucking full of shit. They're fucking full of shit. You're going to meet, unfortunately, within this business, you're going to meet a lot of people who are just lying.
Yeah.
And they're lying because they want your attention. And they want everybody else's attention to show them how wonderful they fucking are by telling them they're a fucking master and guru. They're not. You got to learn to be able to see through the lies and the bullshit. Mm. I hope some of what I brought you today will help you shine through that.
Most definitely. You've brought me a lot of knowledge that I think people out there watching and me myself can reflect upon and take back into our lives to be a better person and to make the world a better place for the greater good of humanity.
I hope you do a good job of doing that yourself.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it by myself.
No.
And if we don't all start learn to work together, then it's not going. The job isn't going to get done.
No.
And the job needs to get done. And if not by us, by those who pass it on past us. That's the only legacy I choose to leave, is by others continuing to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Sorry?
I think I've taken up as much of your time as I need to, correct?
No.
You look like you're getting a little antsy over there.
I just need to haven't eaten breakfast. It's going.
What time is it over there?
Ready 12:30.
12:30 in the afternoon?
Yeah,
or in the evening?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it's 6:42 here in PM. So yeah, I get it.
Well, look, Daniel, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. I mean, I've learned so much. People probably learned so much, and we could discuss so much more, which we should definitely catch up in the future and have
anytime
a
you want
conversation. Yeah, it's been great, and I hope to speak to you again.
Absolutely. Anytime you want to, just let me know. We'll do it again.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and I wish you all the best.
You too. As I always tell everybody at